Yeah, that is it. We are live. I guess the Rabs tonight is that it have no Rabs.
Huzzah, huzzah. Like this thing saying schedule on the top here still.
Still saying schedule,
Yeah.
but this thing
Look at
saying
look
we live.
all look my own like I have a delay or my own now gone and it on 20 seconds already.
Yeah, you on COVID time or
Yeah, Zan COVID meantime.
yeah, yeah, right. So this episode we didn't really have a topic per se um mapped out. So we said we're gonna kind of keep the floor open and just talk things about food in general. But I mean, it have a couple things happening about the place that we could touch on. Ronaldo's supposed to show up at some point, and if anybody out there who tuning in now want to join the discussion, feel free to let us know in the comments, and I'll post the link. Now this we now just to tell all up front, we not because of the open format, we're not doing any after party. So this is the old talk tonight, right? But we're trying to keep it not too old. We're trying to still kind of talk about food or, you know,
Food
um,
adjacent.
yeah, food adjacent topics. We're not going to get into other things that, the after party might be known for now. And we recording this, so it will have receipts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So know all yourself before you
yeah,
jump
yeah.
on.
Know yourself before you jump in.
To thine
But,
own self be known.
hmm
Mhm.
so, I mean, yeah. Um, Sandwich month was good. I
I
think
enjoy it.
yeah, we had a lot of good um information coming out of that,
Hmm.
and I definitely had a touch on that at some point in time. Some of the things we talk about,
Yeah.
some of the things. I reached for doubles yet.
I hit one. I hit one.
We went by
I went by these chatterbox in Wednesday.
Chatterbox.
Yeah, chatterbox used to be on Chacon Street.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's be on Chacon Street as well.
Wait now, is that tongue doubles eight?
Well, yeah, they
Oh,
just
but
come
in
up,
Arang, you say?
just come up in Aranguez by the
Oh, okay,
Savannah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It it's never go two doubles. You know what I mean? But
Mm,
it is support our boy on our evening kind of scene.
yeah. So, thank you for joining us, Ronaldo.
Good night, good night.
um, yeah, just updating everyone that's the forum kind of open-ish. This is the after party, but not the after party. Open table, um, open to discussion, and I hope the chat working and it's not the same issue like the last time where I'm not seeing any updates because I'm not getting any updates in the chat in my chat window right now.
I
So
last thing I seen is from Richie Rich. I inside.
nah, and I even seen that. I seeing
The last thing is Crystal Q in the haircut.
because see, well, I not even seeing those comments. What I do the last time? I'll leave and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
All
so.
right, hold on. All right,
Blessings,
so
Crystal,
I,
blessings.
I'll be right back. BRB.
Mm.
Was I drinking by Q? Guinness Clear?
Guinness Glen, white and Sprite
Oh, okay. Nice,
In a
nice,
Guinness
nice.
vessel. Look, Crystal, the COVID, our boy had to conserve the hair on the COVID now. You need to be able to clean easy.
I may do that.
No, you know me, how much times I grew and cut off hair.
Yeah, I know.
But
I
look
just
at
like
comments. I ain't even sorry. I was butting it up. Yeah, I ain't even see who are they voting for. Who are they voting for?
Life.
Bas Dio Pande.
Hey, look, Joyous. Joanne. Don't be on me now. Don't be on me.
Yeah, now we are, eh,
Mhm.
Hey, Joanne, what going on?
Jojo.
People noticing, Quincy, people noticing that you know, you come fresh with the cuts now.
Yeah, they keep it COVID. Yeah, they keep it COVID. COVID operations.
Crystal, this still PG
Nice.
hours. We still in PG hours now. You understand? So, you know, you could come with you could come how open you wanna come, you know. Is you know, it's whether
Just
we
know.
choose to, you know, yeah. And it will have receipts, so yeah.
Just know.
Hey Onika, what going on?
Hey, Busha, boy.
Yeah.
So we starting.
So where we started? A good place to start is actually I could this, and I guess this will kind of lead us into some more discussion. This weekend I went down Kunam village with
Yeah, on the
Java.
mango trip.
Horse, you say you had to go last Quavers.
What's that?
You say you was going last Quavers.
Oh, you didn't even offer, nigga, though. You didn't even offer.
Ronaldo.
You didn't say I was going there. You didn't say I was going there.
Ronaldo.
I say I was going there.
What? How you end up telling me you was going on the beach this weekend? How that conversation happened? How it start?
I don't recall you saying you're going anywhere and me responding saying that.
So yes. You don't remember? You don't remember the conversation, so.
Sometimes I don't.
Sean, we were not prepared the way we want to be prepared to do the pepper discussion. So we will be getting into it, but we have some preparation to some pre-production.
Some preparations.
Yeah, some preparations. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, when down there, Mango Estate, Ronaldo totally forget.
Yeah,
and that was nice vibes. And right now it seemed like that's the kind of thing as the more, you know, people see it is the more they're asking for it now. Like, you know, how they could go and do them kind of things now, visit them kind of places, get them kind of experiences. I feel like going forward now, like from now and maybe well into next year, because I mean, as it stands right now, and I know Ronaldo don't want to hear this, if things stay how they are right now, you know, you're not having no carnival next year.
That's not happening, Horse.
What not happening? It not
No
happening.
carnival?
No carnival. That's not happening.
Why you saying that? Why you gonna say that?
Because it had to happen.
Why?
Well, it had to distribute.
But not going to happen though, if things remain as it is now.
Well, I don't think things will remain as they are now. Other than I don't think we will have, as the public in Trinidad by and large will have access to a vaccine at that point. I don't think so. But I think with better controls on the borders, we will be in a position to manage that. I'm not seeing carnival not happening. Jared, if carnival will happen, it means that the things I plan to do not happening, Jared, and which is around that time.
So you mean you're hopeful that carnival happens?
Yes,
I know it is, but I'm very hopeful at this point. I'm not in a place where I don't think it, where I think it wouldn't happen.
It does seem feasible to me, to be quite honest.
Carnival, that's a whole, 7-8 months?
I don't see us getting a handle on this thing globally. I don't see it.
Now, well, globally is a different story, but I never said carnival in how it happens now or how it happened this year.
Yeah,
Carnival for
not a carnival statement, no, that is a general statement. I think globally people wouldn't have things under control. I don't think in 6 months. I don't feel
I agree. I agree with that.
So I think from the perspective of, well, number one, I had to do a little more research, 'cause I'm not as well researched on how much the foreign dollar does play, what the role of the foreign dollar is playing in Carnival itself, right?
Mm.
Considering that a lot of the fets and things that's be going on even before, and a
Correct.
lot of the activity that's be going on before, like foreigners come in and start attending feds and playing mass on the Monday and Tuesday. So like plenty of that income and that revenue to start generating like the year before with band launching and all them kind of scene and the whole machine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that part of the scenario, and that leading in for me to say like can, the statement for me is Carnival will happen whether or not, right? Because Carnival is not the parade on the streets.
Right,
Carnival
right,
is more
right.
than that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Carnival is we rebellion and we expression and that kind of thing. So Carnival could happen in a number of different ways that might be dissimilar from what we are accustomed to. That
Mm-hmm.
might have the potential to generate the same kind of or similar kind of things, like if alcohol and things they sell around that time because of the celebration, it kind of don't matter where the alcohol being consumed, whether it being consumed on the street or it being consumed in a yard or in a village or wherever, that go happen. So for me, the question is more about what Carnival go become rather than if Carnival have happening or not happening. You know,
Right.
like what the Carnival expression gonna be, what
Mm.
people gonna do, and how we gonna sync with it, how it gonna affect economy and that kind of thing. The reimagining, I all about reimagining right now. That's how I
Yeah.
feel.
And I agree. I think it wouldn't happen in the same way as it has happened in the last couple of years. Um, we may not have as many big events. We most likely not going to have foreigners coming in. With respect to what you're talking about in terms of how much foreign exchanges play, I think when I heard a thing sometime recently, and it people just think it's a huge amount, but it isn't really that huge of an amount in terms of the foreign exchange. That
Foreign exchange.
would to hotels and bigger things, but in terms of the small person who does really benefit, the small man who's benefit from the carnival season, I don't think the bulk of the foreign exchanges go to them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that important for carnival is that wealth distribution. I mean, the fact that the people who don't work 9 to 5s on a regular, that is their season to kind of collect some money to rally through some months or even later into the year.
Yeah.
From
And
people
the
who
creatives.
and creatives.
That is my time. My time is Christmas or Carnival.
Right, and creatives struggling this year because all of the carnivals they were supposed to go to, in terms of not just graphics and copywriters like you, but musicians and that kind of stuff. All the carnivals they were supposed to go and fly and go to throughout the year, all of them things get either postponed or cancelled. So all of that, they go be hungry to make a dollar come next year. So I think we would. I was hoping that the C20 would be a good litmus test for what we could do. It's unfortunate that we kind of in the zone we are now, where things going back up. But I was really hoping that maybe the early stages we would run it without spectators, but coming on to the semis and the final even, we would be in a position to allow spectators into the stadium. And that would be a good litmus test for what we could accomplish later down in the year with potentially band launches or other fets and that kind of stuff. That ain't looking that good. But I still do believe that we will have carnival stuff. Caribbean had to sell base. They have to. Angostura have to sell around. They will figure out something.
And you know what? I could take back my statement because it probably wasn't accurate in that carnival will happen, right? In some form. It just probably mightn't happen in the form that we are accustomed to.
Agree.
Because that's what's going on right now, like MMA by the island and have fights going on there with no audience and they're streaming everything. I was listening to something on the BBC today with I forget which football competition going on. I think NBA, sorry. The
NBA going on.
WNBA.
The
They living
Champions
in
League
the
start back or something. So
right, and
mm,
they're talking to one of the players, and she was talking about the experience in that she and her husband is a coach for another team. She on a
mm,
team, and they living in bubbles. They calling them. So
mm,
like a hotel go be a bubble, and you
mm,
have your close group that you're moving around with, and that's staying in one kind of zone to
mm,
limit contact and thing and whatever. And she in one bubble and her husband in another bubble, and
mm.
they're talking about how that working out and that kind of scene. And from that perspective, uh, honestly, listening to it, I was like, all right, well, like that, it possible for people to still conduct certain events and certain things with the right kind of protocol that will limit spread and be mindful of the thing now.
You
Yeah.
say that, right?
Mm.
You say that, and I immediately think that could then be the gasoline on the fire that is the classism that exists in Carnival.
Well, not just in,
That
not
man,
just in
because you
Carnival,
see
right?
that when you talk about the NBA and the bubbles, and then I see it how, because I know that's like, yeah, you're heading there now. It already started unfolding in my mind. Like, if we had to implement something like that for Carnival, that will be, you see how the Soca Drome was a rope on steroids? There's going to be the Soca Drome, you take it, and you attach some apparatus and you blast it into the galaxy. You understand?
Well,
And paint it orbit.
You
well,
you
look,
you you
what,
listen to Campbell too
what
much. You
you're
want to
saying,
a dome.
what
I
go
was
on.
thinking that Trinidad would be the bubble again. Once we have the borders controlled and we put things in place to manage people coming in and that's authorized people coming in, I think we should be in a position. We talk about 7 months, right? 6, 7 months.
Mm.
We had to be able to get that sorted within 6, 7 months.
Ronaldo, think
And
about where we
I know
is now.
definitely in the
Us
right.
being August now.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how we was
Mm-hmm.
4 months ago, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
You know we in a
Yeah.
worse position, right?
I disagree with that. We in a worse position. Well, yes, okay. We in a slightly
We're
worse
not
position.
too far. We're not too
We
far
in a-
advanced. I mean, we're still in our phase where we're still using the novel coronavirus. We're still learning things about it and that kind of scene. Testing. Mm, you know, I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
still pretty difficult. Like I as an artist, I would tell you, it's difficult for me to operate because like predicting just what's going to happen next month rough dread. It's rough. Like I have nothing, no real data to crunch to say, there's the trends, there's what happening, there's what like nothing. Economic trends, social trends, nothing. Everything up in the air.
Everything,
I
yeah, everything up in
I
the air right now.
trust me, I mean we are recording, so I can't say the actual thing, but there are a few things that really keeping me together right now. Everything real topsy turvy. It's real topsy turvy. But saying that to still say what Dawi was talking about there, I feel like something that in terms of exclusivity and thing that is something that I feel gonna end up being built into many of the solutions, right? Where and I think I'd mentioned this before in some I think it was on table 34 in one of the talks that we were having. I see it
Mm.
where the VIP experience and the VVIP experience go be actually getting to be there now. And the
Yeah.
general experience go be the virtual experience. So you go be home watching because just like what 2 weeks ago, Jay Bless had sent me the link and it had like a nice music festival, a Brooklyn music festival going on same night as Sumfest. And I was commenting that look I getting to be in Sumfest and this Brooklyn scene, this Brooklyn music fest and juggling in between the two and watching the two, for no money now. And I was
Well,
happy with it.
and that's a critical component. How do you monetize the general? Because if we consider the economics of fetting and airplanes and anything, it's really the generals that is pay for the event. VIP,
Yeah,
VIP don't pay for the event,
right.
right?
Mhm.
So if you remove that component from the event, then how do you pay for the event?
Well, it is like a scale thing, right? It going to end up being where sponsorship go out to pay for the event, basically, and people getting plenty money by sponsorship.
Mm.
Um, so then
Well,
what you had to do, and you had to reimagine the whole thing. You can't just fit the old model into the new space, right?
mm,
So you had to rely on sponsorship. So therefore, you had to create a scenario where your general getting some sort of different benefit from it. Like, okay, general used to be you pay that price and they come in and they enjoy the show, your live, your thing, whatever, whatever. Now, general had to be something that might be more interactive. So you're getting included in the show in a different way, and they might have to incentivize things. And this is outside of just selling pay-per-view kind of stuff, right? Because pay-per-view could work. That's the first thing that will come to mind. They sell tickets that is pay-per-view type tickets. You pay a 10 US to enter a show or whatever, and then multiply
mm,
that by the world because now you're streaming and your audience open up globally. You could Netflix the scene, right? But then inside of that, they could do a lot of lotto style giveaways. They could do a lot of promotional things inside there, a lot of interactive things that they could monetize and have sponsors pay for it to enhance the viewer experience. So it's a whole architecture you had to put in place. The strategies, like people had to be real strategic right now to make it. But
well,
one
mm,
thing gonna be for sure, as I was enjoying the fact that I was in both Sumfest and the Brooklyn Festival, I was also very cognizant of the fact that Sarah Now Sizzler was performing to a crowd, right, or to an audience of some sort. And it have the benefit of still getting that live experience that I'm sure a lot of people will be willing to spend top dollar to come in and pay for. So even in the conversation that I'm saying here, sponsors might do it. Sponsors might, even the concept of what a sponsor is might change because a sponsor might be a VIP or a VVIP who come in there for a very, very premium 5-star kind of experience that have dining and this and that. Going to a concert might just be a whole different thing altogether
all right.
at an event.
A couple of things. I hear that, and I will leave it really up to the marketing people like you to kind of figure out how do we change that whole vibe and how do we monetize events and them kind of social things now. But two things. One, with respect to the Jamaica, um, they open essentially. They open for business. They're allowing tourism in and out because they're reliant on that kind of stuff. So for that festival there, they would have been able to go and actually go to the event because, right, they're taking that risk. Um, with respect to the sponsorship, the good part of the sponsorship as it stands, well, I can't say no. Previously, so a Caribou, whoever would have sponsor, they would have make sure that they earn money back from the event by either if they sponsor, they have premium access to the bar, their bar's a big bar, whatever. You know, they showcase in the event in a huge way. And again, they do get something from sales at the event. With that thing going virtual, Jed, I ain't drinking no Carib. I don't care how much Carib sponsor I drink in my left. I mean, if I go to a fete and the Carib is all out there, I go buy the stag. But if I home, me and buy no stag to come and a 10-year virtual thing. So that way I
Well,
monetize thing for the sponsors. That will drive for
well,
sure.
remember you still have vehicles and mechanism like proof of purchase, pay to access kind of things, right? Where you could do a limited
I buy
supply
a
of
6 pack and then you're
yeah,
coming on that. Okay.
buy a 6-pack and scan this for a
Mm,
chance to get a free ticket, or
mm,
buy a 6-pack and scan this to be part of the virtual audience.
mm,
It have things that you could do to still tie in sales.
mm.
It always have a way to do it.
And I say, ole go figure them thing out. Me, I don't see them kind of.
But yo, it could take some doing. It not impossible, but like I say, right now, the real challenge is trying to just stay grounded enough to see some sort of stability that they
Mm,
can start planning things on and projecting. 'Cause I mean, that is how we does live. Everybody that doing this thing for real in terms of marketing and communication and thing need to be trying to stay a step ahead of what is going on, right? And right now it hard because a step ahead it no ground there. Like a step ahead is quicksand. Boy. You know?
It's like each step is stepping off a cliff.
Yeah, yeah, it's the
Yeah,
cliff. It's the
yeah,
cliff. And you know what? Is it mightn't be a cliff though. It might
mm,
just be that the fog rail thick right there so you can't see the ground.
right.
And you don't know how deep it might be a step down, it might be a cliff, it might be solid road, but you just don't know. So the smart thing to do is not take the step there, you know,
Yeah,
and try and
yeah,
clear the smoke. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a scene. It's a real scene.
But the other part of that is, even from the perspective of, monetizing it in a different way, the hit that come into the economy, and we didn't feel it yet. I mean, we still had, I don't think the government really did a whole lot in terms of social assistance. They've claimed to. I don't know. I haven't interfaced with enough people to see how that directly impacted the people who needed it most.
Yeah.
But the current prime minister, because we don't know what will happen in a 2 weeks,
Bob.
has claimed that the country don't have money to do that again. So we can't survive, or we can't, not like we can't survive, we will survive regardless of, but we can't pay people during another lockdown. So behave well yourself, right? But if we can't pay people during another lockdown, and again, we ain't see the economic bottom of things that have been in the train for a while, because it's not, there's just compounding on things that was already coming. Right? We had oil and gas basically down to nothing. We had we to a point where we importing gas and stuff now. We to a point where we know the currency is what's it term I'm looking for, boy? Overvalued, right? As compared to the US, we do have proper currency controls in place. We know if UNT come in, what's going to happen. I dreading it. If that happen, I dreading it. So yeah, people go and take such a economic hit over the next couple of months. People are already out of jobs. People are going to continue to fall out of jobs. So come Carnival next year, it will really be a position where, again, events is be paid for by the masses, us, the general public, who working an average or earning an average living. We are really who just pay for the Carnival Fest. And more so, like the youths are fine. Yeah, I mean, we kind of on the out of Carnival Fest. We only our last lap. The youths is really who going to be, who foot that bill.
Yeah.
And they are some of the people who are going to be out of jobs. I think even before us, we might be a little bit more tenured into positions that, they work in a little bit more of an entry-level position and a bit more disposable to most employers. So they could be out of jobs, which means they don't have the disposable income to do that. If they dependent on parents and parents lose their job, they don't have the disposable income to do that. So some tough times ahead, for sure. For sure.
I see Chris bring up even in the context of Carnival, what it mean for the small vendors now. From the Savannah, them kind of scenes that does have an impact similar to what we was talking about. By the time them boots build up, that's long before Monday and Tuesday. That people just come out there and make a proper whole period, And some people just do that like look forward to that because it's a large boost in the income for the year, So yeah, mass makers, the dancers who already getting the shitty and the stick. Entertainers, yeah. It is a scene that for me, honestly, it grew my fight.
It real group. I ain't gonna lie. I keep my blinders on and just trying to see. Let me just keep going as quick as I can, as far as I can, for as long as I can. Because I know what coming at the end or wherever that I see the fog and I pedal to the metal through the fog. I know the cliff coming, The cliff coming. But as long as it
if it got running start, you have a chance.
I can probably jump it. Yeah, that is it right now.
Yeah. Wow.
Ronaldo,
Very
look,
good.
people want to know what you mean.
I mean, people want to know if what I mean.
Can
Okay,
someone
so
give detailed change of
you say
government?
you know what will happen. You want to know
No,
what will happen.
I mean, I have so I have a copy. I got a copy yesterday. But
Manifesto?
I think the manifesto, the UNC manifesto. I haven't gone through all of them. I went through this fella Alexander, Philip Alexander, and he rubbish. That
Mm,
pissed me off. I had him somewhere, you know.
mm,
Let me see if I can find it. I haven't gone through the PNM one as yet. I had the UNC one here, and I had the Philip Alexander one somewhere here. And there's not the whole manifesto, but you know their little marketing material.
mm,
Um, I was extremely disappointed by the Philip Alexander one. Not that I think he is fit to run the country, but
mm,
I think for somebody who would like to run the country, it was a very poor showing. The grammatical and spelling errors on that thing was crazy. And I think if you're showcasing your brand and your intention is to run our government and our country, then you should do a better job.
yeah.
But with respect to the UNC, what I'm speaking about is, I wonder if it in here, boy. They have spoken about um, the overvaluing of the US of the currency now, foreign exchange.
Mm,
So, I mean, it kind of here, but they speak on it a little bit more. So they say we will request the Ministry of Finance to work with the central bank to begin the transition to a more balanced foreign exchange market.
mm,
But Kamala has spoken about it in the past, which is essentially the fact that the currency is overvalued. PNM counter to that is some ads that I've heard speaking that they will devalue the currency, which would be beneficial to them who have US. Agreed. But even economists, and Dawi, I have shared articles with you, and you know I really like that economist woman, and I think she is very smart, and she's might be a little bit opinionated, but she's entitled to, as we all
Who's
are.
that? Who's that?
Mala Dukaran.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she has guesstimated that we are about 40% overvalued, you know, something like 40 or 44%, which is a huge amount of money. I mean, if we were to lose 40% of our buying power overnight, that's a problem because, I mean, as a population, we still heavily dependent on accessing things overseas and being able to pay for things through Amazon or whatever else. And the government has done its thing in terms of additional taxes and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't really want to be in a position where we kind of wipe out a significant chunk of our buying power as it relates to purchasing things from the US. Because again, we're in a position where the majority of what we import from food goes straight back.
Yeah.
So it would mean that all of those things would become a lot more difficult to acquire. The prices locally may raise significantly. Our incomes aren't going to raise in the short term. And it was scary. I went to Ramesh and Leela in Ikwese with my mom. I don't usually go there, but I went to Ramesh and Leela in Ikwese last weekend. And that place looking worse than some parlors I've been in recently. Like,
It's Scanty Shelf.
yo, Scanty Shelf.
Serious?
I mean,
You can't get.
I can't call names,
Mm.
but groceries I go into, they read the thing the shelves. So what they do is spreading out the goods now.
Correct. They're spreading
So
out,
that
but
it
they
don't
only have
look,
like
so
one
like the shelves don't look bare.
Yeah, and they have one or maybe two brands, and it's not the brands that we usually see. So you don't see the the kind of upmarket brands. You would see cheaper brands that we're not accustomed to seeing. And I walk in, I was like, wait, is this serious? And I mean, Ramesh and Leela is an institution in Ikwese, an institution. Right? Ramesh was so big to a point where they had three groceries at a point. I mean, they're down to two now, but it's a place they usually have. And
Let's pay attention to how the groceries, how they lay it out in contrast to how it was before.
No,
Like,
and I hear you that we with respect to how they lay things out, but is much more than how they lay things out. And as Crystal say, you could go to, because I mean, we just go to extra food. That's one of the reasons why now I go to extra foods. Extra foods seem to be able to weather that storm a little bit better. They still seem to be stocked with most of the things that you want when you go there. But for a point, Food Giant around the corner was didn't have most of the sugar brands that I was accustomed to. So I bought something, bring it, and it was brown sugar. You leave the thing in water, and the color from the brown sugar fall off. Like, how brown sugar color just fall off, right?
Yeah.
And you end up with this thing, and when I taste it, it's not sweet in any kind of way. I throw away that shit, right? So yes, if you go to certain supermarkets, they are implementing a strategy where they kind of spread things out and they pack the shelves a little bit differently. But there still are supermarkets. I think I haven't gone to Massey. But True Value still seems to have a fair amount of goods and variety. Extra Foods for sure still seem like they have everything. But there are other supermarkets for sure don't. I'm gonna drop off a little bit, but Michelle has seen a comment about you do agree and it will get worse before it gets better. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I do agree it will get worse before anything gets better. I simply trying to maximize on the current status before it gets worse, hoping that if I am able to maximize on that, I could ride out the worst until it gets better. I drop it off for a second. I just go and grab a beer. Coming back.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I ain't see inside our grocery in a little bit there. In a minute, I go on hardcore look of what kind of scene dread. Like I even record an episode of our podcast day that I feel our throat walk with me now.
Yeah.
I wanted to start back just walking around the area now.
Yeah.
Which I used to do often. And I mean, for quite some time, a couple months now, not a couple months, since the beginning of the year, I go in by the Vegemart and that kind of scene, going by the Fishman out the road, that kind of thing, and getting my food from that. So I didn't really see our grocery. So I didn't know what certain prices are. And I feel that's going to be me for a while, you know. To be honest with you, that's going to be me for the foreseeable future, because I feel it again. I was reminded of how economical it is to do that kind of scene now, Bridget.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it makes sense. As tell stalls and thing around too, I just hit them from time to time. Yeah. See what Larry said there?
Yeah. Where's that?
I mean, yeah, ICN roads, that was seemingly in good condition getting repaved, but that is happening every election. Every election has happened.
Yeah.
Jen, that's pissing me off to no end.
Yeah, just
to no end, because I find it ridiculous. If you see road signs getting painted, all kind of construction for road and thing, and it's real annoying. Why we don't do that right through? I mean, that is one of the biggest economic drivers in terms of construction, right? Why government not building infrastructure and spending money to pay people to do them kind of thing right wrong through the air? Like why this gimmick thing, boy? I hate the gimmick.
Because that is it is.
I can't stand the gimmick, Jared. I can't stand the gimmick.
When you say Guinness, and I say Guinness is gimmicks, right?
Yeah, that is, yes. It's so predictable because like I tell somebody the other day, it had that big hole that we rung by on my mother's side in Mover. By the police station. By the police station, by the police station, right? That road there, watch me. It was a miniature swimming pool, right opposite our veggie place now. Well, some stores with some businesses on the side there, and it's had a wait and it's caused traffic and a little pile up. Small thing, but at the same time, your car, you leave a wheel down in it normal. I know I tell somebody, Jed, just hold on. When they call election, we go get our fix. Truth or form. Truth or form. Andre today, we passing the going up the road. And he say, hey, the road get paved, but I say, but I sure that dog. That is a given that's staying so until elections, Jed.
That don't freaking make no sense, Jed. It
Yeah.
don't make no sense.
Inclusive of in the drive in that was Chrysanthemum and them there, where Loha and them living. This forever pave over that all the Wassa Leak Shred.
Yeah,
Pave over the Wassa Leak
yeah, this
Shred.
paper's over.
Yeah, son. Leaks, No,
Yeah, the tree, I had the Peroni nice, crisp, nice crisp flavor.
Michelle, I ain't understanding your comment that people who struggling from March to November will find money for carnival year over year. That is that is madness, and that perpetrated by banks and financial institutions giving loans to people for
loans.
which they shouldn't, because then people, well, one, you should never borrow money to do things like vacation and them kind of thing. Them things supposed to come from money you put aside your budget and you save for them things, right? You're not supposed to take a loan to go on a vacation and buy no carnival costume and all that. That's bullshit, right? But you see this thing with financial institutions giving people loans when just for giving people loans sake and making things real easy. You see Island Finance and them kind of people. That is a problem that we keep pushing along. The fact that men could go in and buy a brand new car with nothing done for 7 years, and they don't understand how much that costing, because they're not running the numbers for the entire 7 years and seeing that they're paying so much more than the original cost of the car. Money that they can't
interest on insurance and
because the car, correct, they ain't considering all that. The car devalued. When those people out of work next year and over the next 2 years and people start defaulting on them loans.
It's predatory banking. Predatory.
Yeah, and they make the millions for years, hand over fist for years. And then when shit hit the fan, they're good enough. They still gonna be good. Is our catch.
That's why when they are announced that they're giving out loans to small businesses and things as a kind of response to the whole COVID thing, I was like, that is not in the interest of businesses. That is in the interest of the banks. And right now, I think and you know me, I always on the side of everything mash up, right? And even the things that they're doing now that they say supposed to help progress things is things to make it even worse. Jed, what we really need right now is people to really come up with solutions that are not based on pure self-interest and greed.
That's not going to happen in capitalism, Hassan, you know that. I mean, capitalism
is all about that's why we will keep going further to chaos, really. Because the country right now really need, solutions that it for the common good now and for everybody. But if the things that the continue to push, the ideas that they continue to push, and the solutions that they come up with is, the masking it as something for the good of the businesses and small businesses and things, but it's really for the further profits of the banks who already, making money, as I say, hand over fist for ages. Then it go and get worse, as Michelle or Marsha said. Michelle, it'll just get worse. It'll get worse.
Yeah, I used to marvel at the fact that for years now we complaining that we don't have access to foreign exchange. I ain't had no court close, so I wouldn't say what I was just about to say. But certain businessmen blaming the lack of foreign exchange for why the business failing and all kind of shit. But yet still, we importing cars. I mean, we don't make no cars here, so we had to pay US for cars. Even if you're buying a foreign used car, you had to pay US for cars, right? And we importing cars like crazy. Hackers line up all over, sit down there, baking in the sun, and people just buying cars. How?
Yeah, I couldn't fathom doing that in these times.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, Dread. But we have some hurt to come. We have some hurt.
Yeah.
We have some hurt.
It's painful.
Guys,
It's painful for me right now.
huh?
Yeah, right now it's painful for me. Real painful, but you know what? Whatever. You do it. You do this thing.
Things gonna get real.
It's gonna get grimy. It's gonna
real
get grimy.
But you know what has come with, right?
Yep. Crime, escalation of crime, the works, mental health issues.
People had no choice but to go and hustle. COVID going to get worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The pressures are like I coming through the crazy the other day, and I see a man in our drawers, like just kind of tripping out, and I expect to see more of that, you know. Not everybody could take the stress just so. Yeah. Also, when money start to get more scarce and people can't afford the medication and them kind of thing, it have so much things, Dread. So much things.
Somebody was
John, we don't need that kind of negativity.
God, man. Gosh, pick one struggle now, man. Pick one struggle now.
Somebody was saying that there are some Venezuelans working where they're working who kind of talk to them and say, I can't remember what this forum, but I think how, they're seeing Venezuela and what's going on in Trinidad right now. They're seeing it coming.
Yeah.
They're looking at the pattern as to what they went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it coming.
And this is why I don't understand it. Everybody, very few people, well, at least in YC, in the conversations in the public domain, let me say, still centered on the same ridiculous conversations. And I mean, no disrespect to we parents and things, you understand? But as I say, the same ridiculous conversations that was happening back in we parents' times. Young people just regurgitating the same nonsense shit. And it beyond me how we have this amount of so much information available out here that you could inform yourself beyond the limits of this two-party system and the tribal politics and the mudslinging and the nonsense. And it's like, no, the discussions just not happening on a level that sensible. And then everybody if they're not talking about race, is this kind of romanticizing the PNM, and then talking about who does look best and who attractive and Uncle Keith and Ting but nobody actually talking about things that affecting
people.
And you know what? I had a probably trying not to be, how I would normally be on this right of people, but it seems like people just really don't care. People really don't really care about what's going to happen to the country. I think people cool enough with the rest of the country could go to shit as long as I cool.
But that's a huge issue. Like I said, so people talk about the coup being like a turning point in our society, And for me, when I look pre-coup and post-coup, there's one thing that stands out to me, which is the lack of community, Jared. Like before the coup, I still think there was a level of community where You could go by a neighbor where you felt safe going by a neighbor, where my parents felt safe having us, walk on and go by the neighbors and play and whatever and whatever. You could go and ask a neighbor for something, your neighbor would come to your aid if something was required. And when I say a neighbor, a random person on the street who living next to you, not somebody who you grew up with for forever. Because I moved a fair amount in my youth, right? Now, I in the same compound living for the last, decade. And if there's have 3 people out of the 9 people on this compound who I talk to, that's plenty, right? And I live in a compound where one of the other persons living here is my uncle and another one is my sister. So you're in a position where we do have that sense of community. We really are selfish. We care about ourselves and we try to keep ourselves safe and focus on ourselves. And it comes straight from the top. And I think we emulate any people who who run things, both the government and organizations.
But you know what, Ronaldo? You know what? You say something there, and it make me think of something, Jed. I don't think that community change for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. I think community change for people like you, people like me, people like Quincy. When I was growing up, and you probably know, you probably, because you grew up in a similar area, and Quincy, you gonna know this about Mover. Nobody had a wall house. Everybody yard used to think into the next person yard. And if the most people what might do is pop like a hedge now, with some kind of thing, right? But when they go down and play pitch, it had a yard or a pitch yard. You understand? And they could have just walk into the person yard and play pitch because this is the pitch turf. You understand? You can't tell me don't play pitch here. This is we yard. You understand? This is not your yard now. And then I don't know how it was for Plover, but in the drive, that started to change. People started to pop thing. And it was so because it's not that people wanted it so. It was that kind of housing that the government had set up. It was NHA at them times. And the neighborhood was designed like that. It was just house now. And they do it in Maloney too. When they had set up Maloney, initially set up Maloney, and this next place, Santa Rosa and thing. You remember when Santa Rosa Heights had now get built? It wasn't no wall and thing. It was just house. And you see it in other developments too. They don't usually pop wall. They just put up the house. And people, you had to do that on your own after now. So for a huge portion of my childhood, the neighborhood was such that it was open. And then as soon as people started to pop wall and fence and gate, that changed it. But I want to believe that for other neighborhoods, that would have been, I guess, more on the upper middle thing, like the PT valleys, them kind of areas. Certain areas that was always like for the well-to-do or for the upper middle class. They might not have had that kind of experience that we had in terms of community.
Well,
We just
I would
living closer
agree.
to what they always do.
I would agree with you that like we come up with a real sense of community and that kind of thing, but we had wall and thing, right? Up by us.
Okay.
Because it's people that build.
Plover Gardens was always
Yeah,
it was
you know,
always
yeah. Keep maintain that kind of
yeah.
kind of blink.
Plover Gardens was like the west of Moa.
Yeah, kind of
The Beverly
blink that
Hills
way. But
the Beverly Hills of Moa.
it's people that build the spots and thing, right? So they buy the land and build and things. So part of that was you block off there's your lot now.
Yeah.
So from that, I mean, everybody then started tall wall and thing, but you mark your borders, so there's your border, and then you buy your blocks and you build piece, right? But it didn't affect the idea of community, right? In that, I mean, it would be partly because when your experience move on, the whole is so I understand the idea. Just is a place, is a space. You don't have divisions between and that kind of thing. But also, what it create was that culture of joint living. You're going by people. like being by our brethren, lineman thing. I used to come across by all the thing. We buy that we go on, so we go on the dirties, we go on here, we go on here, and every player have the different culture and you learn it and you part of it. So it's part of a bigger thing. It had that, right? So and I saying all that to say, I think it's more a mindset thing than the physicality of the situation. It's more a
Right.
mindset, and we was in a place that we were more. I think the best way to express it is we was more Trinidad and Tobago than
The state.
anything else than the states. You know what I mean?
But
We was more.
but you know what? As you say that,
Mm,
now it's seeming like it could. I mean, it definitely can't be just one thing. But
mm,
then back then we only had two TV stations. You
right.
had to go out. You had to go outside. You
Yeah.
understand?
TV used to sign
TV
off at
signing
that
off.
point.
TV
Yeah.
signing off. So you had to go outside. You had to
Mm,
play thing. But now when you have cable, and then even having like video games and things like that, I
mm,
remember when my father buy a Atari, it was a big thing. It was a huge deal.
mm.
So, and I mean, yeah, for that Christmas, we play Atari till, we hand was
Let's
blister.
bleed.
You understand? But after you get bored, you understand? After
Mm.
that, it's like, nah,
Yeah.
I still want to go
Atari,
outside
yeah,
because,
Atari didn't do it. Atari
yeah,
didn't do it.
Atari, video games couldn't do it. Even
Yeah.
TV did. Even watching a movie was, watching a
Mm,
movie back in the day, how often you just sit down and watch a popular movie by yourself? Everybody had a video, like we said, everybody get VCR or whatever, or
mm.
Betamax, right? It was, I don't know if all of you used to do this, but we used to have a line. And
Yeah, of
everybody
course.
come and yeah, all your
Yeah,
partners come, saying and your mother go pop popcorn and thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you get
Or
some
you buy
snacks and
pizza.
buy a
Yeah,
pizza and
you
we sit
buy a
down and we
pizza.
watch Beat Street, you
Yeah,
understand? Or
yeah,
E.T. or whatever the case may be there, you sit
yeah.
down and you watch them thing now.
I could say
Yeah,
my house was the video lime house. Like,
yeah,
yeah, we used to facilitate them kind of limes.
yeah.
Yeah, dig. But and
So it's
yeah, it was.
all them thing with an impact on the social interaction I had then.
Mm,
And I think well, I mean, people as live real, everybody insular now, everybody,
inside.
yeah, inside the as Ronaldo says, the sense of community it changed, and again, the definitely drugs and thing change more.
Mm,
Thing like drug block and thing.
mm,
Because think about it, back in the day, a drug block was, I mean, yes, you're living mover, but that was not a common thing, Jed. A drug
mm,
block was not a common thing.
mm. Well,
And then
you know where there was, and it didn't have many.
it didn't have many. Now I was
Yeah.
saying, it wasn't like, thing. If you hear about a place of a drug block, is one. You
Mm,
understand?
mm,
One little place that they call that block. It's a
mm.
song like, thing,
Yeah.
like it's all this commerce happening, all this trade,
Yeah.
but it's
Ah,
really,
just a house is a
a
house now.
pushabana. It's a
Yeah, a
pushabana.
house somewhere a man
Yeah,
living.
So
yeah.
let me ask a question then. Let me throw something out.
Mm.
Would you guys be willing to go back to that sense of community, that quote unquote simpler time,
Mm.
at the expense of the convenience and access to the things that we have now?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I
go
would
say
do it.
yes. I go say yes.
I would do
Because
it.
I mean, I'm probably saying it because of the usual conundrum that has come up with that I experienced it, and that was a part of my life that was interesting and good. So it was, it go hold that position, and I can't fathom it as anything else but good.
Mm.
But if I had to weigh it out, the things that I'd like about it was you talking about them days I bouncing ball and thing, and I going over Chumakak for training and walking back all 12 o'clock in the night, and there's no scene. You think there's nothing wrong with that. You have a basketball in your hand, you have on your uniform, and you're walking going home. And nobody ain't doing you nothing, no one ain't telling you nothing, including police. Them days was White Lotus. Most they will do is pull up on you. Hey, youth man, where you coming from? Well, I was bouncing ball up in the church, or I was bouncing ball Chumakak or wherever. Thing. All right, go ahead, all go inside. thing, and you go up the road. And like I said, even if you stop by the corner, because when you're coming up Plover Street, some people going straight up Red Hill, some people going down in Chinapoo, some people going in the gardens. So we'll stop right by the junction there and we will take a little lime. White Lotus pull up, think, well, you know, coming from training or you're just talking a little bit thing. Somebody might talk out a turn maybe and men might come outside for that. But more than likely, 90% of the time, they tell you like all you go inside now, they had enough. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. We have school next morning and all kind of thing. Yeah, but yeah, for their uniform, you ain't really, you know, outer roads looking too grimy. Nobody on here. You see that time, that the comfort of being able to walk them streets in them times unconcerned, I find as I see like that's give me a false sense of security now because I just kind of feel like, well, yeah, I walk through, move all kind of hours, I go in anywhere and walk, line on no scene, but that is not a smart way to be in 2020. And I will.
You think so? You really think so, man?
Yeah.
You think so, man?
It is not a smart thing. I mean, not 90% of the time. Are you the one who last time when Maurice asked, you say, oh, you rated crime at like a 7 or something kind of thing, and I disagree with that completely. Because for me, what a 7 says in my head is that out of 7 out of 10 times when I leave in my place, I will consider that something could happen. That is how that 7 out of 10.
You don't?
No. I would say if two, maybe 3 out of the 10 times that I will leave here, I would think about maybe something could happen. And that
I guess it depends on where I go into.
And that's the thing. So even if I go on Lime or whatever, I wouldn't consider that. Like if it's real late in the night, if I go in on Chagonas for a gyro 10 o'clock in the night, I don't care about that, right? But I will agree with you in terms of like just a couple years ago, I would have go and bounce some ball with some fellas. I mean, me barely know them, but Karen might have been there. So ting. I know one person in the group. I go and bounce some ball. It had maybe, I mean, one instance where something play off, not in amongst us who was bouncing ball, but close by. But yeah, now a few years later, I'm talking about 3-4 years later, I wouldn't feel comfortable going in a random community center in Digo or wherever to bounce ball and sweat with people. Not even because I think something would come there, but us as individuals, as the people who bouncing ball, as adults, as grown-ass men, if we have an issue with somebody on that court, don't know how to deal with that issue properly. Like, I could see them thing escalating into things that it don't need to be much more readily now than a couple years ago. I think now we do have that ability to accept when we are at fault and just, allow people to think. And it's always had to be, I had to be macho, I had to be thing, I had to defend this, what are you doing here? Where you come from? The thing. You see all that shit? I ain't make up for all that drama. Like,
it had that, but it also, I think it also very significant of the apparatus you have access to these days to be able to execute
correct.
Back in the day, you ain't see no gun and thing just so.
Gun was not a common thing.
That wasn't common.
I think for me, a big turning point in my flexibility in terms of randomly going out on Lime was opposite. On the avenue there by the square. This place that I don't think they are wrong no more. ZA and opposite ZA.
Right.
Where's that place?
Coco Lounge.
Right. Lyman and Coco Lounge on Friday, and some fellas getting some kind of argument. I think it's either from where ZA is, I can't remember what the name of that bar, whoever it is, or from Coco Lounge. Yeah. Come outside on the corner there, and I went back to the van to drop. I had my camera back in them days. I was with my camera in Coco Lounge. Decided, all right, cool, I ain't shooting no more. I'll go and drop my camera in the car and come back and Lime. And walking back into Coco Lounge, gunshots. Because two fellas had a little argument there, and one of them say, well, I'm coming back for you, and come back and kill the man. Like, really over it was some shippiness. So I had to run back to the car, call my friends inside and say, yo, just had a shooting like get out of here. I think after that, I was a little less easy, kind of just liming randomly. I mean, that shock way off after a few weeks or months, but it still is very, I'm still always very mindful that, yeah, it have people with guns out here who get offended by the slightest shit and decide that they go and take a life for no good reason, right? Like for no good reason.
Yeah, as I said, back in my times, you might get a little telephone, you might get a stab because a man walking with a ratchet with some garlic on it, and that is it. You know, nowadays is quick access to lost life. Yeah, like dread machine people walking with just so, and also with the conditioning of what media putting out for, you know, like what Hollywood putting out there, um all them series and thing that have gang reference and crime reference and murdering and that kind of thing. We desensitize as entertainment, yes, but we cannot desensitize to that kind of scene enough so that somebody with the relevant thinking could be encouraged to move towards that much easier now, you know, in our now times.
And they
So
had the
yeah,
papers that doing their part in sensationalizing, not just sensationalizing, but everyday drumming, murder all over the front pages, splashing murder because
it go
them
sell
to
papers.
sell papers. You
Yeah.
understand? So
Well,
you want you
so
watching that, and you could be thinking, yeah, I could be doing things to get on the front page.
mm,
You
I
understand?
see I see Jamie talking about,
Privilege.
yeah.
Yeah, I see that come up on YouTube here on my phone just to see the comments a little bit earlier because I have a little delay. I think we all delayed on the comments.
Yeah, I be delayed on
Yeah.
the comments.
And I wanted to address it, and I think we should address it. And I agree that we are privileged, no doubt. I think we've addressed that in previous shows. But in addition to, yes, one, we are privileged. Two, I do think we've worked for the privilege that we have in some instance as well. So, yes, we are privileged. There are lots of people right now who really can't find a way. Through no fault of theirs, they really can't find a way. Somebody mentioned previously financial literacy. I think is one of the things that, by and large, as a community, as a population, we don't have. I think that's one of the things that I like to touch everybody who I interface with a few, tips and pointers with respect to financial literacy, because it's something that I think is extremely important and wasn't always this way. I wasn't always, mindful of how I earn and what I do with it, and definitely nowhere close to where I need to be. I have friends who have been really impressed by what they've been able to do and achieve. But I do try to influence people to look at whatever they earn, right? And take care of their finances and their financial health. And I do think that, I do think that I have earned the privileges that I have a little bit. I mean, with everybody, is Trinidad and is whatever, and who you know and who give you a hand and all that kind of stuff does help. But without putting in the effort, be it to go and study or to work the hours that, but we could attest the hours we had to work at some points to earn the experience to actually get access to the jobs and stuff that I have now. I wouldn't have what I have now. So yes, I do admit that we are privileged. I am privileged. But I think a fair amount of that I have earned by sweat and effort.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I don't ever downplay privilege, and I probably just don't call it that, to be honest, because I don't know if that is the most accurate way to describe it. For similar reasons, like when I hear what my parents, for example, and the reason I can't fathom like not just answering with yes to anything my mother or father, well, father when he was here, would say and suggest and tell me do, like the answer will always be yes, short of maybe terminating my own life or something. Then I might ask why before I do it. It's because what they sacrifice and what they do and what they put in place to make certain things possible, like some dread sacrifices. And yeah, real dread. And I mean, it's like things that I take and apply to me and just try to sustain and continue doing it. More so in tribute to them, right? But then at the end of the day, who feels it knows, eh? And I for one think, despite some of the things I might have access to that I know other people might not have that foundation to build on to grow up, and I'm thankful for it, and I don't ever, put it to the side. Still being who I am, is it's still difficult to see them kind of things as real privilege, like real, like, in the true sense of the word. It don't seem like privilege to me. Privilege is when you could come up with an idea and you could implement it and it go run and you get funding for it and thing, and that, to me, that is when you're in the realm of privilege. It don't really work so. I mean, it's not that is the only benchmark, but it's just difficult in my position to see it as true privilege. But I'm thankful for certain things I was afforded to me. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's relative.
It is
You know.
relative.
Yeah, from our perspective, looking at, other, if you want to call it, sectors, society, it would look like that. But I mean, there are people who, I guess, would have been worse off, would look and say, well, yeah, well, they're privileged. And I mean, yeah, to be able to, be on the internet discussing issues and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
from the comfort of a home,
Yeah.
it's a privilege.
Of a home, yeah.
Yeah. It's a privilege. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Somewhat.
Mhm.
Somewhat. Yeah, Crowbar is the name. Michelle now say Crowbar there.
Somebody else posted, I'm trying to keep up with these comments here.
Yeah, the comments delayed, so we now
Real delayed.
I talk to these people and tell them fix the.
Boy, nice privilege. When they could just call people, hey, want to fix anything now, boy?
I mean,
I paid for it, I paid for it.
I paid for it. It had to work, you understand? I paid for it.
She had Teddy Riley in for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know what is going on with them.
They should never increase to 10 people. They should keep it at 6 and.
Yeah, son. Yeah.
Comments on time.
Yeah.
Coming in, I'm a wise up there.
Yeah, but life, Fred, I ain't gonna lie. Life is a hell of a thing, yes? A hell of a thing.
And this whole, I mean, watch it. And remember we was talking about it the other day. I tell you, before I used to think about it differently, but now as I look at the whole crime situation and think, like Jed, I really cannot disassociate crime from inequality, Jed. I try looking at it through different lens and thing, and it's like the two inseparable, Jed.
I could counter that argument by simply saying you're looking at one type of crime or one set of crime. But if we really look at the crime, the proper crime that is happening in the world, it has nothing to do with access and inequality, because the biggest criminals, The biggest
Yeah.
criminals is those with it. The biggest criminals.
Yeah, but that's how they just get. Just get by denying people access. You understand? So that is it. That is exactly it. They could create in the conditions that causing crime. So that is it.
Crime.
Huh?
By committing crime.
Yeah. The creating crime by committing crime. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what getting at is
Yeah.
the start of it is inequality. The crime
Yeah.
creates the inequality, which in turn feeds into more crime.
But if you think about it, it's still inequality, whether it is the result of the inequality or creating the inequality in the first place. Whether it's your starting point or your end point, you understand? You're going around a circle of inequality. Whether it
Okay.
is the people created it or the outcome of it at the end, which is the crime. You understand? At the core
The motivation or the catalyst.
yeah, is inequality.
So
yeah.
So if everybody had access to the same things, crime would, I wouldn't say wouldn't exist because it will exist regardless of, but would be diminished.
Yeah, definitely.
So okay, so then if we look at societies where that is a bit more the case, because we have, I mean, you have two parallels there. You have societies with, so okay, no, let me rephrase the question. The question then is it inequality within the society or inequality between societies?
Yeah, I think it start within the society. I think that is where it starts.
So if we look at inequality within society, right? We have us with our capitalist system. So if you look at communism and socialism by and large, or even capitalism, that is a bit better managed, where we have less inequality, do we have crime? So let's consider
it have plenty good examples of it working.
Okay.
Like Nordic nations, I think.
Correct. Them people, they still capitalism, but there's a fair better level of equality. Right? The rich really taxed much higher, and they don't respect people who flaunt their wealth to a certain point, you know, and everybody kind of is more or less the same. And yes, what we would consider what crime, but I would say this, in those societies, lots of the things that we consider crime may not be considered crime. For instance, there are some of those societies where drug use isn't looked on as a criminal activity. It's looked on as
drug use is not a criminal activity.
Well, but it is. If you using drugs down here again, lock up for it.
But it's not a criminal activity. It's not a crime.
It is. In here, in our society, it is. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And as I had this debate with my mother all the time, it shouldn't be.
True. It shouldn't be.
But it is.
All right, cool.
By law, it is.
By law.
It is a crime. If I had cocaine on me now and the police pull up, that is it. I lock up. Yeah. But if I had cocaine on me and the police pull up, they shouldn't lock me up. What they should say is, you have a substance abuse problem, and let us get you the help to deal with the substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
Which for me is always the better way to look at drug use and abuse.
Yeah.
And there have been places that have successfully implemented that kind of policy, where we aren't going to target people, we aren't going to criminalize people for issues that they have and the substances they may turn to deal with those issues. What we need to do is attack the issues that they have and deal with those issues, which will then stop them from accessing those methods of treating or dealing with those issues. Because oftentimes
the resource they need.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again into the territory or other channel that are watching heavily now. So in order for the punitive systems that we have to deal with society to function, we need things to be defined as crimes. You understand? And it's a morality based on, well, I don't want to go too much into that, but you know it's our moral. You know what the morality of our laws based on us. You know what we know what it's based on,
Why
right?
based on? Why you don't want to go in it? Like, go in it, nah?
Because we know in the after party. We know in
It's
the
not
after
about
party.
today, so we had to tackle it here.
But we recorded this.
Yeah, I don't know if I.
Yeah. Let's know. We know what it's based on, right? And if anybody want to know, they can message.
I don't know. Message me and tell me what based on. I could be the one who I don't mind putting it out there.
I think that one will levy. That one will
Yeah. Let me. And you tripping our rams. You know, right? But our the morality that our laws based on is is from a certain place, and the way that morality or immorality is dealt with, even from that perspective, and it's just a reflection of the same thing. It's punitive, you understand? So anytime you transgress to whatever we prescribe as the way to live, you will be punished.
So that could only be, and let me put it out there, that had to be religion and Christianity. And men shut up, right?
We'll be back after these messages.
Don't change that channel with me, right?
I really had to explain that to them, because I just had these arguments with my mom. I shouldn't say arguments. Arguments is the wrong word. I just had these discussions with my mother all the time, right? Because my mother's a Jehovah's Witness. I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
And religion to me is the worst thing man ever invent. Ever.
Okay. You know, we deleted this, right? We deleted this.
Why? Because the only religion
Well,
we
the cat's out the bag now.
The only religion we need in this world is love, right? The only religion we need is love, right? Because religion is just another one of those things that separates us into these distinct groups, right? Politics, religion, class, all these. You see, once we start separating humans and saying you here and I here, we will always have problems. We need to find, as a human race, some way to say, hey, we are all human. We all have our challenges and our issues, but we are all human.
Right.
See, once we start to classify people and put people in these groups, all hell go and break loose.
Right. Well, the thing is, right, and the discussion broader, we will always find ways of classifying or breaking us into
groups, yeah.
And you know what? Let me just say that. Let me just say always. We have always. Understand? No, we don't have to. And the world could move towards a consciousness that really sees the human race as one thing, which it is, right? But I mean, and then we get further into the discussion, and I will be going further than you here. That the reason why we do these things is based on the behaviors of other, if you want to call it, societies that are close to us. And it's not something we come up with. We didn't come up with. Yes, we come up with classism, you understand? But forming tribes, forming groups, forming social groups, it's not, humans didn't come up with that. That's not a human thing. All other primates just do it. The exact same thing. This is our version of it. You understand?
All right. Tim, well, it didn't show up yet, but Tim have a comment here on thing about if you kill somebody, that's immoral. Leave religion out, it's still immoral. I want to say to that.
Yeah, I saw actually see it, and I was gonna bring it back up here, but you go in on it.
I say to that no. I'll tell you why I say no to that. I think there are circumstances where you should be allowed to kill somebody. I, for one, I think on some level,
you think allowed is the word allowed?
Well, I think a fair punishment for some people is death. I think a fair punishment for some people is death, and I ain't talking about a random walk up to somebody and shoot them for no reason, or you're robbing them or whatever and you kill them. But I think, and I know myself, so let me speak to myself. There are certain things that if people were to do, I would have no issue taking somebody's life. And it's one thing in particular. I have a daughter. If people were to do anything to my daughter,
harm your daughter in any way, yes,
I would take their life. And I will gladly go and sit down in jail after taking their life. Right? So killing people for sport and that kind of stuff, no. But yeah.
You see, for me, and I hear what you're saying, because there are people I feel that way about too in my life. But the question is one of morality and all this kind of scene. Like, personally, I find that it's so granular and case by case that, like, for me, classifying it don't even make sense. Like, it don't even make sense to classify it.
Yeah, well, you see, and I guess, all right. So I are kind of on both sides of the thing here, right? So I understand what Tim's saying, right? And at the same time, I will my position on morality more malleable. You understand? I'm more fluid when it comes to morality, because I mean, morality in essence, I think people just think, and I mean, this going into personal views and things, but people think that morality is something predetermined, something cosmic. You understand? Something like it innate. But morality is something learned. We just learn. It's a social pact. You understand? Is some general rules of engagement that we come up with, that we say for our society, for our community. This is how we expect a model citizen to behave.
And it's formulaic.
Yeah. And I mean, Jed, I think what people don't understand is, okay, so, and it's always on a spectrum, because you say that now, people will be like, no, it can't be that, thing. But what people don't understand is that it had societies that was model societies, societies that we developed from, that had things that was normal then, but totally deplorable now. You understand? It had things that you could have do back in the day in certain societies that was normal. It wasn't a crime. It wasn't frowned upon as a breach of a moral code. It was the norm. You understand? And now it's something that we would look at as abhorrent. You understand? It's like, Jed, look at that, even think that was okay. And I think as our society progresses, there are things that we do now, or things that we kind of frown upon now, that we accept, that we would move probably towards a version of consciousness that say, nah, that's not okay. So bear that in mind, morality is not a predetermined thing. So just to cast a blanket statement and say killing immoral, I can't say that. But I understand what Tim means. At least I think I infer in meaning into what you say. That we had to have like a baseline to say, well, this, we can't accept this as acceptable behavior in society. Yeah.
Deep. Type it down.
Tim have a comment about some religious groups speak to, like killing. If you kill somebody's child, you could, killing them is justified. Okay, cool. I've tried. I say try. I've really tried to explore lots of religions and religious groups. That's so much. I think I've done a better job than most of my peers in terms of doing that. I have a Quran here. I try to pick up and read once in a while, a Bible. I studied a fair amount of time, but I again, for me, I've shied away from religion simply because of that tribal nature of it. There are two things that shaped my view on religion more than most of my other experiences. The first one was when I joined sixth form government poly for A levels. We tried to restart the debate group, and the first and only debate we had while I was in lower six was about Armageddon, of all things, Armageddon.
Mm.
And at that point, I mean, the Jehovah Witness hat was still, even though it wasn't, I was not a witness, I was never baptized, but all the teachings were still there. So I argued for Armageddon, or that Armageddon was a real thing, and there was a Muslim girl who was on the other side, and after she presented, my retort was, according to what I believe, you're going to die. And that young lady never spoke to me for the entire 2 years of our sixth form period. And I mean, I could understand how offensive that was at the point that I said it, right? I couldn't. Only reflecting, you know, as you mature in your age, you kind of thing. I mean, I was just turned 16, just turned 16 at that time, just turned. That was one. The second part was my father's best friend, who, as far as I know, isn't very religious. I've never ever heard of him going into a church. I don't know his family to be very religious, but he's you know, an elder. He has lived his life, and he was speaking to us. I say us as his sons, myself, you know, the fellas in the community that we had there. And he said he can't understand or appreciate if these religious bodies speak to a God that is loving and forgiving, looking at an individual who has lived his or her life in a just, fair, good way, but the only thing they've not done is attended this one institution. They haven't gone to church. They haven't gone and, you know, read this Bible, but they've upheld the high qualities and standards that those religious institutions may aspire to, right? So they've lived that way, but by virtue of them not being associated with that group, would be killed. And I was like, yeah, boy. That could be a just God who would kill you simply because you are not a member of this group. And those two things really got me thinking about what religion preaches or teaches. And it really got me to a point where it was about a group. If I look and I investigate the Jehovah's Witness as a religion, it speaks a lot to that being the group, you know, the chosen few. And I couldn't process that. I couldn't process that there may be somebody in the far regions of the world who would have lived their life in a just and upright way, may have never ever been able to interface with somebody who's a Jehovah's Witness, but because they didn't know Jehovah or repent and seek him, that they wouldn't get whatever he promised to his group. I couldn't reconcile that. And since then, religion has been, no part of it for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what morality based on. That's what the law is based on. A lot of our laws based on religion, and not just arbitrary religion, but heavily based in Catholicism.
Well, real avoided, boy. What, the Pope go and jump on the live and be like, yo, Gabby!
You gotta remember that we live in Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, which is supposed to be
our society is run by groups of people. And we still have to navigate
The groups.
the groups. So one must be careful. One must be careful.
I don't know. I usually be ready for that kind of fire, but I don't know. In my old age, I ain't really feeling for that kind of
yeah. Choose your battles. Yeah.
But I mean,
That's
now
on the
look,
hill. That's on the hill I want to die on.
now look, we've been in that heat
Yeah.
since 19 how long ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, the same thing you're saying though, and I know is the basis of my questioning as well, because I find it line up a bit unfair now. How and how I do it is, how come, I in this house right here, my blessings. Yeah, I ain't not told. I will take that. Yeah, I hear my neighbor right there who are real good with real veterans thing. He right there. That's one house away. Like we just talk through the bedroom window and thing. And he experiencing a totally different scene. And like you saying, from our perspective, like everybody in that house they gonna burn dread. Everybody gonna burn and evil and all kind of thing now. And he watching over and to him, same thing. Now we not applying it in real life. In real life, subliminally, it did, but like me to him, I don't want him burn, you know what I mean? And I don't think he will now. But when you watch the rules and the guidelines, yeah, and that is something that I can saddle long time. Like I can saddle that long time. And one of the things I tell people is everybody's an atheist to somebody. Essentially. Yeah, everybody is an atheist to somebody. Because somebody thinking that the God that you worshiping is not the real, the one and true real God. Now. So then, atheists are sorry. Yeah, atheists. In some walks now. But I think coming up, my thinking will change on this over the years. Many times, Jed. Like, I could safely say I went all over the place. Right? And you know what? At the end of the day, and this might probably be real bad. This might be probably the most horrible thing to say. I ain't business, and I'll beat it up with it. And like you say, and I love, boy. Love is the only one that accepted. Love is MasterCard now, boy.
everywhere.
Yeah, globally.
What? The question: what is love?
Check you. Eh?
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me no more. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Been answered. You know what? The best way I can explain it is empathy. Is shorthand for empathy, I think. Right? Yeah. It is understanding that it have another person or other people attached to your existence and moving accordingly. That's what it is.
How there's now the thing is I don't know if you could teach empathy, right? I don't know if you could do it. I don't know if you could cultivate it. Maybe you could.
I think I could.
Yeah, you know what?
Empathy.
Yeah, I think generally speaking, you could.
Empathy is the currency I love, right? Empathy is what you just trade on, right? So what you have to do is you have to invest. Like just like how money does make money, right?
Yeah. As I'm thinking about it, yes, yeah.
Empathy does breed empathy, right? Yeah. You're not going to be versing that if you grow up or if you come up not surrounded by it or not seeing example.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. Yeah. You have to be it have to be the soil. Understand? It had to be the soil.
Yep.
You had to be born into it, and that is what you're experiencing from birth. What you're experiencing from birth is a system that based on that.
Yeah.
So you think that is the only way to get it? It can't be taught at any point?
I think to reach to the point that we thinking about, I think that's the only way to achieve it. Because if you don't do that, then you will always have, it will always be a spectrum, and not just a narrow spectrum, but it will be a very broad spectrum, and it will be based on the experiences.
Well, you see, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I would say that it might be improbable, right? But not impossible, because
Yeah, you see, look what, and I guess Kumin just summarize what I was gonna say. So, yeah, because if inequality,
like
yeah,
I could agree with that. I could agree with that. But
yeah,
I think you could learn it, right? And at any stage, it's just a matter of what is necessary, not what is necessary for somebody to adopt anything, as a matter of fact, after years of conditioning in something else or
you
something
really think so?
similar. It is
But
it is work.
Think about this. Think about this. Think about, all right, we living in a world that does promote the self, right? We all about this idea of the self. How it does take that, because it's either it will be a couple of things. It'll have to be that we destroy that whole thinking of promoting the self and start to promote the collective,
Right.
which means that you're almost kind of dismantling the whole idea of ego and that kind of thing, because ego, greed, and all them things is what does feed into somebody lacking empathy for the next person.
But I want to say it, but when I speak to my own experience, right? Because I come up here, I come up in this world, in this life, right? Expecting. I ain't saying open, expecting shit up for me, expecting, right? I come up in this life expecting to be a millionaire, billionaire, have whatever I want, have house, car, land, woman, whatever I want.
Yeah.
And life, I mean, is what life is. It's dealing some blows that is kind of check here once in a while. Not everybody, but I think maybe not everybody, but I think it deals most of us exactly when we need to get dealt those blows, right? And I watch myself dread again, as Jay would say, coming from a privileged perspective. I remember back in Weber's days, not making no set of money, but making money to the point where people would come up by Weber's office and claim certain things, and I will walk across to the grocery and I would say, "Sure, get what you need for your children and buy." And only to realize months later that I get abused, because men out here, men really, that story that they given me ain't real. I experienced things like, I mean, we have a mutual friend that who there was a football match. I can't remember what it was, one of them World Cup qualifiers or something. Who call and say, "Hey, are this person who have tickets for the match, for the game later today?" So it's a Saturday. They have tickets for the game. And how he is this person's son or whatever, and thing. And I would go and meet him in the crazy and hand him $400, which at that point was a big chunk of money for me, for him to vanish in the thin air and the number to go, one way, and me never to see tickets or my money ever again. And all them things, this kind of lead me to the point where I understand that it have people in this world who would abuse things, but it have people as well who really in need. So my daughter to this day is this. The other day she asked me something. She's like, "Daddy, why you always be giving people things, and why?" It's because we went to buy Chinese, buy good eating, and a man outside, asking for something. This recently COVID time, and I was like, "Yo, yeah, come through. What you need?" And buy him a meal and something to drink, sit down, wait, pay for it, eating. Because my perspective is, if somebody have a need for food, you see food, if a man hungry, and you see I could buy something like this piece of shit, I could buy rum and beer and shit, that's enough. If I can afford that, I can afford to buy somebody a meal.
Right.
Right? So I buy whatever. It happened many a times. People would pull up on me. I buy the Chinese grocery whatever, and they would say, this, that, and the other. My family whom they need. Boss, go inside there, pull your trolley or whatever, and take what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Because the level of privilege that I've earned affords me the ability to waste money on things like, liming and alcohol or whatever. So for sure, I can afford to help somebody who is in need. And again, that is not an old me, Me 10 years ago, I could work, you could work, go and work.
Mm-hmm.
But me now understands that, yes, while I might be able to work, the opportunities that I have had and I've earned for myself, other people aren't able to, so they need a little hand. And I know at any point the tables could turn and I could need a hand. And I would love for somebody too. So when my daughter asked, I explained that to her. I was like, I came from nothing. My grandfather, on my father's side, had absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. He worked hard, and all of his children, knowing they came from nothing, were able to achieve something, right? Similarly, I am trying to push a little bit further, but at any point, anything can happen. Could be disease, could be accident. I survive accident, 40-something stitches here, right? Survive accident where I lost a whole lot of. That accident could have been significantly worse. I have friends who have not survived accidents. I have been fortunate enough to survive an accident, right? So I could reverse to having nothing. That accident could have taken away my ability to earn, at which point I would be dependent on other people. And if that was me, and I was buying a grocery, begging, because I have a child at home who needed something to eat, I would appreciate if somebody would be willing to help me. So as long as I have the ability to help others, I will. But again, that was me. That was definitely how I come up.
This question, right? Do you think that going through what you went through, right? And I'm saying this in conjunction with what Bedawi, or to answer what Bedawi was talking about in terms of if empathy could be learned, or if you had to get it from birth or whatever, right?
That's all. When I say from birth, I don't mean born with it. I mean
Cultivate.
seeing it.
Born into it.
Born into it. There,
Right.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Right. Ronaldo, what you saying is it wasn't necessarily born into it, per se.
My parents didn't have a great time coming up. My parents struggled, and I didn't see that to that extent. I wouldn't say that I saw that. I wouldn't say that even from the people who I looked at as, I didn't notice it. Even if it happened, I didn't notice it.
It would not see it. And that is why I'm saying it, because things like that them kind of situations could cloud them kind of learning, and they mightn't see things evident because it might be so minuscule, for example, that it going unnoticed, or it's not significant in a real way. The intent of it, right? But here what I wagering, when you learn or you see whatever you saw, that would trigger you to become more empathetic towards certain things, right? Do you think that having the experience of, for example, having it rough and nobody is stretching out to help and that kind of scene, do you think that helped to solidify that if your position right now, if you could, you would help somebody? Which in itself could and be, you learn empathy, but you also learn it and adapt it. You even accept the learning a little deeper because you understand what it means to not have, for example. And that would motivate you to make sure if you could put yourself in a position to let somebody not feel that, and you understand what somebody going through and the same.
Yeah. And in the first half of my life, I didn't have much. Definitely didn't have much. And I felt like everything that I got, I worked for, earned. I mean, in primary school, I used to be somebody's bodyguard for 50 cents a day. And that is how I used to get spending money. Right? My mother didn't have money to think. As I tell earlier, it was sadder and whatever mommy could scrape up. Right? It was either you do that or you walk home, and the dollar you're supposed to spend on the car, you can spend that. But you had to walk home in the evening. Um, and even throughout all of that, I think my father was still in a position where he had. It's not that he didn't have, he had, and it's not like he didn't take care of us. But I always felt like he could have done a little bit better, you know. And I want to get into my father and my mother relationship and why that might have contributed to that. But I had a chip on my shoulder for a long time that didn't allow me to see other people in need and be willing to help them, because I always felt like I was in need and I had to fight to get whatever I got. And I can't tell you what the turning point is. It could have been the birth of my daughter, because that changed a shit ton for me. Right? You see, being responsible for another human and having to guide another human and having to show another human how to navigate this world is an insane responsibility and changes you in ways that you could never prepare or predict. So I can't tell you exactly what forced or was the catalyst for the way I have changed and I now look at the world. I mean, and I don't think there's any single one thing, but it's a combination of all the things that I've gone through. But at some point, I started realizing that the way I looked at the world and the things that I wanted to achieve, despite everything else in the world, is what led to the world being how it is and wasn't contributing in a positive way. And it's not that I don't want to achieve things, and it's not that I don't want to get things, but I also look at the world as that capitalist model, that selfish model, is something that doesn't work in our favor, and as humans, I'm speaking about. And it do make sense me having when other people need. Not want, need. I always look at things like the money that the US government is spending on things like arms and that kind of stuff, and look at it and be like, why are we spending that kind of money on weapons when if we spend half of that money on feeding and clothing the world's population, nobody would starve? And those things do sit with me. Because again, as I talk about the whole thing with anarchy and breaking it down, I have a little child who, if she don't have dread, I don't care what had to happen, I go in and find. If she don't have, everybody else, I go in and find. So again, that played a big part, but I think is a lot of things, the accident and, having friends who have taken risks and maybe not had a easy go at things, that kind of contributed to my perspective on life and how we need to really look at the world as a community, as humans as a community, and help each other to push past.
Well, if we had to do that, right, and come up with a more universal idea of what love is and thing, love and empathy and thing, in order to get a more, to a consciousness of seeing humanity as one thing. It are real things that go ahead and mash up it. And I mean, things that I just already say I find is nonsense. Things like nationalism, patriotism. And people just think that patriotism is a good thing. Patriotism is not a good thing. Understand? Pride is a double-edged sword. And we just ascribe pride to things. You see, anytime you're ascribing pride to arbitrary things, again, it's kind of shifting your whole perspective on, I guess, the nature of things. People think that, all right, it does all come back to fundamental things that you think about the nature of reality, Jen. If you think that, all right, you was put here for a specific reason, then it's easy for you to fall into the trap of patriotism and thing. Because then it was like you was chosen to live in Trinidad and be a Trinidadian. You understand? As opposed to is more luck and chance, Jed.
I
You
don't
understand?
know,
And
it's just-
it have an infinite amount of possibilities that who you is Ronaldo, who you is Quincy, could have been born in China, you could have been born some other part of the world, you could have been born a woman, well, female. Jed, it's so arbitrary that you're here being who you is, right? That for me, these things are we just choose to identify yourself as and be proud of. It don't make no sense, Jed. I do not care.
But
No, 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 I
let me interject
appreciate.
real quick, right? And
Yeah,
when you finish that, because if you
yeah,
don't mind, say what I'm
right.
going to say.
Now I appreciate my experience of being here and experiencing what I experience, and I, can't, I cannot separate my identity from my history. You understand? And as a matter of fact, it is because of my history that I think this thing's so arbitrary. You understand? When you think back to the amount of events that needed to be in place for we to be here now. You understand? And how much things that that's a fraction of could have changed the whole thing. You understand? It's like so understanding that is like I appreciate the experiences, but I don't feel a sense of pride in it now. You understand? I'm not ashamed of it,
Mm.
but I'm not proud of it either. It's like I appreciate it. But for us to move to any kind of collective consciousness and seeing humanity as one thing, all them things had to be removed.
Mm.
All them things.
You see, here what I go say, right?
Mm,
I agree with you. In the broad sense, I agree
yeah.
with you.
Mm,
The but that I have is
mm,
while I think it's completely random that and I wouldn't even like beat right down. I wouldn't even say it the way I actually say it
yeah.
because it have like this time around and thing involved in why you know. But the fact that I
Mm,
was born move at Trinidad and Tobago,
mm,
I it for me it more than just I appreciate it.
mm,
Like I enjoy the hell out of it. Like really enjoy it. Like growing up, uh, if you ask me if I could have changed things about how I grew up now, like
mm.
very few things would have changed, and none of it would have be where I born, who I born to, and like how I come up now. Like
Yeah,
none of it. And
yeah,
honestly, even if you tell me, Jed, you could be born into real wealth and thing and whatever.
yeah,
I might have stick to the devil I know because that experience for me, I think I get something that I'm real glad about. I don't know if I could use the word pride more to what
right.
you
So that's what I was going to ask you.
right.
If you love your experience,
But I don't know if I could use the word
but are you proud of your experience?
I don't know if pride is the right word. Pride not accurate. But
Mm,
is patriotism, for example,
mm.
is that pride?
Yeah, patriotism is pride.
Because
It's having pride in um.
well, is it the deadly kind of pride, right? Because I very patriotism have me here in Trinidad sitting down in a place that are grounded to more or less patriotism.
Mm,
Simply
right.
because in as much as I think country itself in really foster a big set of thing in my life now. As a matter of fact, I battle the country,
Mm,
to be honest. However, I still felt a real strong need for a number of reasons to stay here and give the best of what I had to give to this,
mm,
right?
right.
And other people coming up and thing that is why I just volunteer frequently and contribute to that thing and want a partner and thing and where I let everybody go forward, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I want to do that for here now,
For
right?
your community though.
From a
That's like
country too, from a country too, a
that.
community, yes,
Well, I mean,
country.
so yes, right? Yes,
And
but
like on a world scale, for
yeah,
example,
yeah.
one of the greatest sense of pride, and men like James Amau and even Karen Johnstone go know
Mm,
when we went Jamaica to deal with the Guinness tribes, right?
mm,
We sit down in a room with people from Sachi London and ting and whatever, and sit down
mm,
to bounce ideas and ting.
mm,
Um, and I don't think it's an ego thing. I don't feel it was an ego thing, but I feel real good to let people know to be the one of the people
mm,
because Karen real girl, Karen
mm,
run our tribes that like the big creative director that they were celebrating at the time kind of had
mm,
us sit down and fold up to the point where after any socializing after he had pulled square and thing now.
mm,
Maybe he had a hard day, but
mm.
we kind of thought it was because he didn't like the kind of performance that went down that show up a scene where it had people more prepared than him, right?
Right.
And even the ideas and things that our group spit out, James and myself throw out some things and how we perform in the brainstorm and how we work in the workshop and thing was stellar. And I was proud to be able to say, like, I represent we area to show, yeah, we doing good down here. You understand? For the brand now. Yeah,
Right.
all they bring the brand here, yeah, we have all the luck, right? And it was recognized. Like
Right.
things we launch in South Africa and thing and I send creative that 100% in all markets and thing. I feel good to know that I do that and show we little spot doing this, right?
Yeah.
Now it is not from a perspective of I think I'm better than you
Yeah.
or I need to put you down and raise me up, but
Yeah.
it's more from a perspective of we contributing to the thing too, and I think that valuable
Yeah.
to the
Well,
people,
I mean,
you know.
yeah. Well, you see, it has certain things in the language they use that tell him, you say, from this little spot. You understand? And the
Mm,
whole idea of us being a small place is like, you understand? On that, even on that level, that
mm,
when we see big, and I sound the idea of a big nation, and I mean, you see people from London and thing, inside of that it have, their society being, we former colonizers and them kind of thing, and
mm,
the brand being from Europe and them
mm,
kind of thing is like the whole thinking is that, all right, so they come and it's an opportunity to prove almost that you're as good as when the thought that you wasn't as good as shouldn't even be there. It have nothing to do with people brilliance and intelligence and creativity and nothing to do with where they're born. You
well,
understand?
yeah, and the thing is this, right? Why
Mm,
I say it from a perspective of dealing with the facts, right?
yeah.
Actually, it's a fact that
Mm,
we live in on a small island. That's
right.
a fact. In
Yeah.
the globe, it's a drop, right?
Right.
I think, as a matter of fact, I think it should be celebrated the amount of talent that has come out of here per capita. You understand? In a larger space, it's
Mm,
more than likely that you'll get people achieving stellar things because there are more shots at the pie, right? There are more slices in the pie to take out and dissect. When you
mm,
work at a small 1 point something and you get
mm,
the amount of greatness that you get from here, I figure we just spoiled plenty greatness personally, right?
mm,
I think that is something that should be noteworthy. But beyond that, in the
mm,
scheme of things, I agree that where you're born don't necessarily. I say that and I kind of dress back a little bit. Where you're born should not be the ultimate thing to dictate if you're of global world standard, intelligent, thing, all them thing, blah blah blah,
yeah.
or not, right? It should not. But here's the reality when
Yeah.
you're dealing with this, right? For example, in the ad industry, when you hear somebody come from and it have Lonsdale, Sachi, and Sachi Trinidad and Tobago
Mm-hmm.
versus Sachi UK,
Mm-hmm.
people go automatically make an association with Sachi UK that they don't make to Lonsdale, Sachi, and Sachi Trinidad and
Mm,
Tobago, right?
right. Mm-hmm.
Publicists too. When you hear
Yeah.
publicist Harris and you're a publicist Caribbean. You're thinking two different things, right?
Right.
So I think from a perspective, it is at least my thinking was I could represent the show that thinking that you have there should
Yeah.
probably be evaluated. Yeah, because the values and standards that you have,
Mm.
let me address those because look what going on here. You dig? And and it's not in a effort to feel better about myself, you know. As a matter of fact, it's the total opposite because myself good. You know, we selling me things, brands paying me, we get me paper. But I just want to show you that you could open up your perspective and open up your world by understanding that people here doing this, that within your network that you probably should reach out to, which happened after us too. You should
Right.
probably reach out to this because there are people that could help you get our resources. You
Right.
understand?
Yeah.
I've tried to be among the group of people that was able to say, "This is it."
Yeah.
And you know what? If next time from somewhere else, I will feel so about that other place too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would next splash it on that.
Woo.
Right.
Well, I think we've been going for a while. It's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's a real mix of table 34 and table 34 after party, boy.
Yeah.
There's a real mix.
I would love to hear what the audience thinks about. I mean, because especially for the people who typically don't come to the after party, whether or not they appreciate this kind of content. Because there's a lot of what the after parties we like. I mean, very free form. A lot of us talking about our experiences. A lot more people are contributing. Not necessarily food related. And we know it's a food channel. I mean, that's our bread and butter. That's what we're here for.
Intended.
But I mean, the real if we had to get down to the genesis and ethos of table 34 is really a place where there was no restrictions in what could have been discussed. So it would be nice to hear what you guys feel about, you know, these kind of things and whether or not you want to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
it was always around food and drink, though. You know,
it was
we
always
were talking about that, but it was Howings on the table.
correct.
Everybody sipping something.
Something correct.
Yeah.
Again, it's what I pass, 3 wise men, something. Good.
Mm-hmm. I find it was fun. I enjoy it.
I enjoyed it too. Tim said he's an after party junkie, so he's fair for this.
Yeah.
Elizabeth saying she loved the discussion.
Nice.
She wish she first time at the after party. Well, yeah, I mean, this usually how it is be.
Yeah.
A bit more raw.
Yeah, Almoro. A little less recent.
Oh, the after party more raw than this.
After parties be a bit more raw.
Yeah.
For sure.
I ain't see Maurice tonight. I know.
Yeah, Maurice and Cohen.
Maurice is a veteran, so he's looking at falling after party time.
And for those of you,
I got 37.
Nice. For those of you who've never been to after party, some of them there's go for hours. I mean, I think 5 hours is the longest we've gone till like almost 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous sometimes. Quincy go lime for as long as you allow Quincy to lime. But we will complain till but we can't complain no more, but we go facilitate. So it was fun. We do have a fair bit of things coming up. Stay tuned to the space. We have some ideas, and it just didn't come to fruition this week. We have some people, hopefully we're blessed with some people who, at least the Trini audience would Nico, we tried to not get political. We tried. Yeah.
I can sum it up in a word: nonsense.
Yeah. We have some people who will hopefully grace the stage over the next coming weeks, who the local audience would hopefully be able to connect with, and who would know who they are. We'll continue to bring as much as we can some of the foodies and the influencers, because that's where we started. I mean, for those who don't know, we started as a blog many moons ago. We've progressed from there, but we do like to highlight some of the people who are starting their stuff and coming up, because we got opportunities, and I think there's a great opportunity to highlight some of those people. So yeah, and comments, feedback is always welcome. What you would like to see, some of, ideas. This is not just us and ours. I think the great thing about Table 34 is that we're trying to really build a community on the page and around the show, and expand the community of the audience that is at Eater Food. So always comments are welcome, feedback is welcome. Don't feel afraid to tell us what we're not doing well, what we are doing well, what you'd like to see a bit more of. And
well, we don't care about what anything.
We hope to continue to be providing you guys with a forum to hear our thoughts and to express yours for as long as we can.
Yeah. Yep.
Safe.
Yeah.
Cool.
What we coming with next week?
Well, hopefully we can get the pepper sauce. Hopefully.
Yeah, we can't come back without doing pepper. We promise pepper. Next thing will be pepper.
We promise the fire next time.
We promise the pepper next time.
Alright, cool. So next week Thursday at 7 p.m. we bring in the pepper. We bring in the pepper. Come hello, high water.
Talk your talk. You fucking pretender.
Who indeed badly wounded? Who indeed badly wounded?
So next week Tuesday.
Yes, Marina. Finally, I can see.
Well, next up we Nice after party, Rams, after party. Right, so we see you guys next Tuesday, 7 p.m. sharp. Pepper. It could be an exciting one. We have something special planned. It didn't come off this week, but we will bring it next week.
Yes, Michelle, you are right. Yes, please remember to like and subscribe. Yes. Like and subscribe, please.
Share. I mean, we're trying to build a community, so share it with your friends. I mean, let them know what we're doing here, what we're trying to do, and spread the word. Sure. It's always appreciated.
Yep.
Valen, you hook it up.
Make it happen.
Is it pepper? When is it pepper?
I know.
Which one are we talking about?
Tim, don't let the cat out of the bag. It's something so.
The double take. A trailer on Wednesdays. And that's probably usually depending on what we're doing. That's
on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's drop thing. A little bit watching.
We didn't drop nothing this week because we decided, it was organic. Never pay that way.
Yeah.
Marina, we didn't get the invite yet. Yada, let us know. You come down south, We go. I mean, that we might come down south.
Tim, yeah, of course, we would love to have you. Tim, what are you doing now? All you want to go for till 10 or?
No.
Are you done?
Let me done.
I had to decide.
I don't get fancy, but I say we cut it.
All right. Yeah.
Call it a night this week, but Tim, not next week, because what we're trying to plan, we really need people who we could have access to. But for sure, in the upcoming show, Tim is one of those people who loyal. I mean, they're here every week. So for sure, we'd love to have you on the panel.
Yes, Tim, we'd love to have you on the panel.
So we reach out. I mean, reach out to us via email or the contact page. Because usually when we organizing the table 34, now Nicole, not this week.
For dog.
When we reach out to people, and I mean, we need to have some ability to contact them offline. So reach out to us, Tim, via the contact page, send us an email, and we'll make something happen. Yeah, I have you on Instagram, Tim. So I'll heal you. I'll heal you on Instagram, Tim. No scene.
Half hour, half hour, 30 minutes.
All right, I go and get a bear. Only do the thing. I go and get a bear.
I go and get wise. Yeah, that way we talk.
That's all only good and take. They can't say we're going for half hour and then leave.
No, we
No,
I
I'm
right there. I
Yeah.
don't gonna get a drink. I ain't taking long. If it's half hour, yeah, that's saddle up a little bit. You know, I was just.
Oh, so it's only 30 minutes, sauce.
Yeah, I know. But drink done. I got your drink.
All right, do your thing.
All right, keep them occupied by the time, my dog.
All right. Okay.
The styles of the now, yes.
Coming up, we have a number from a new artist on the scene. His name is Rabs King, and all right. So here, what's going on? Ronaldo and Quincy going for drinks. So for the next 2 to 5 minutes, AMA, ask me anything, and I shall answer. Any question at all, and I will answer. Ask me anything. Nobody asking nothing. Good. So, favorite thing to cook. Favorite thing to cook. Favorite thing to cook. That is a tricky question, you know. I think stewed tuna, rice and stewed tuna is probably one of my favorite things to cook. Yeah, yeah, rice and what drinking? I was drinking a Guinness. It empty now. Yeah, yes, 27th. So actually, the plan is to go to Tobago to do some stuff, but that requires time and money because I'll need a place to stay and that kind of thing, and maybe a ride to move around and that kind of thing. So I want to do it. I want to go and spend some time in Tobago and hit up my peoples in Tobago and really show what the place have. So
Yeah, some good people.
You don't want to go to Tobago. You don't want to go to Tobago. I tell him like go to Tobago Mountain. I'll be in Tobago Mountain. He talking how can I talk about this and that.
Tim, what countries have I visited? Last year I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go to Ireland, and I went to the States last year for the first time in my life. So yeah, I am not well traveled. And I went to Jamaica for a little bit as well, and well, Margarita and Curacao. But in terms of like travel, yeah, Jamaica, Ireland, and the US. Alima, you will get your bread by weekend. Worst food ever. Worst food ever. What's the worst thing I ever eat, by? I can't say it here. Yeah, can't say it here. But you know what? Maritime doubles was actually pretty bad. Yeah, maritime doubles. Yeah.
That's a safe bad thing.
Yeah, I could that I could throw it. Yeah.
I can say
that trip to Korea was good.
roti was one of the worst things I ever eat.
What curry masala roti?
Yeah, boy.
Oh, right. Yeah, curry masala.
Yeah, the great sada. The
Yeah,
breakfast in the morning, great, like phenomenal.
yeah.
And then the roti does take a hard right.
Tim, so how does it differ, like the Trini cooking to the Grenadian style of cooking? Like, what some of the marked differences?
Well, it's greener.
What delicacies are your faves? In terms of like types of cuisine, or no, or like dishes? Curry corn.
Roti.
You know what? I'm not a big roti fan again.
Excuse me, sir. Your passport.
You know what? I realize. You know what I realize? I like curry more than I like roti. Jay.
Oh, well, I good at that because I really like curry, you know. It's curry
Yeah.
and
No,
roti.
the thing is, I like a roti.
I do. I love a roti.
Yeah. I love a dal puri. Like, I can take a dal puri and eat it just so. I love a dal puri. But curry. I like curry. I tried the Hurricane Reef IPA. It's decent, but
Yeah.
I know, Alex. IPAs is I don't really like IPAs. If I had to be totally honest, it's not really my scene.
It's not bad, but it ain't great. And I'm not sure that it will the price. That is
How much
well,
you sell it for?
about $12, 11 something, $12.
Mm.
But I mean, if I could get a left for $2 more, I go take a left full day coming and going. But it's not bad. It's not bad, and I would support what they're trying to do. Because I don't think Carib should have a monopoly on Bay any Caribbean. Even though it's ours, I don't think we should have that monopoly on Bay any Caribbean.
Hold on, who bringing that? Who bringing that?
Grenada, I think it brewed in Grenada. I mean, I have Piton and them kind of thing and Red Stripe, but them thing ain't really. Piton ain't saying nothing. Sorry for whoever, sure, but Piton ain't saying nothing.
Carib not distributed now?
I don't know if they're distributing it, but it brewed in Grenada. It could be distributed by Carib. I don't know.
I think so. I want to feel so.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
But that 868 thing that they're doing ridiculous. So I ain't like that at all, boy. I ain't like that at all.
Yeah, 868.
I must say, actually 868 make me consider this in a real sense. I do think I had to
But I ain't like Alex, hold on, let me stop it right there. Let me just say I don't like it no more.
Yeah, or what Alex saying there, yeah, I think
But I ain't like it no more. I ain't like it no more.
Yeah, that 868, when I taste that 868, I realize I probably should either sharpen up my beer knowledge or just do comment on beer. Before I realize I was just not a beer drinker. I realized that dark beer like Guinness, I could deal with that. But
no, 868 is 868 don't taste good. It don't taste good.
It don't.
It don't taste good.
It don't taste good. It's not like
Nicole say 868 is polar, and polar beer tastes better than 868.
I remember you used to drink polar heavily.
Yeah. Polar was cheap. $20 so how much?
3 for 20.
3 for 20. 3 for 20 hours. Can't go wrong. You can't go wrong there.
Yesterday I was
I think it was less actually.
Checking out Belgium. I had to make a trip to Belgium, boy, because I fully believe now, in terms of my favorite beers in the world, Belgium is it, right?
Belgium.
Yeah. Hoegaarden, Lef. Good stuff coming out of Belgium.
What I'm interested in is that whole microbrewery kind of scene, and more them what is call it, craft beers. The craft beer brands are interested in that, but not like the mass produced ones. People that have their little scene and they go to the brewery and they drink it there and it's exclusive to that kind of thing. I wish we could get a culture of that here. I don't know if it's feasible.
Exactly, not feasible. We're too small. Because I remember last I was in New York, well, upstate New York, Rochester, They have a brewery, Genesis. Real history, and they have beer tours and that kind of stuff. Fortunate enough to pass through and check them out. They have a restaurant at the brewery as well. It's real nice, but I don't think we have the people to sustain that kind of stuff now. Like it's real difficult for us.
It's a deep conversation, because it could go either way. If you consider, for example, music, I know, like, one of the things that come up over the years about music and why music does take the kind of licks that it does take, especially for new artists breaking in. Even if everybody that like your music say, all right, give me a copy of your CD, the returns is not enough, are not enough for you to really live. Like, you might be just paying to cover your costs and thing because you market so small, right? But at the same time, I wondering if that is in the context of music, the amount of production that had to go into you being able to hand a man a CD that people willing to pay maximum $100 for, that is what will make it work or not. With a beer, right? You're brewing a beer kind of scene. Because the quantity, the volume that people go consume your beer in if they like it, right? And then the nature take it set up like if you think about it as a village, right? You say I set up in Mova. I making a craft beer in Mova at price decent thing. And Mova people know that there's a custom, like this is what we just do, this is how we just drink beer kind of thing. And that is the village beer. So we lamenting, go and get a keg from BQ, or we pull a BQ spot and we sit down and we sip a few and thing. That kind of model could be sustainable. I think it needs some research. That is why I feel it needs some
I
research.
mean, the amount of alcohol we just consume
Yeah.
as a population.
Okay, so we have a case that we could explore though. We had Tommy's. Somebody mentioned it in a YouTube comment. We had Tommy's Brewery.
Peanut butter, Nicole.
And Tommy's, yes, Tommy's, but Tommy's will give you a okay dipstick, but that is not really the model now. It's similar, but it's not really the model. The model is you want to do, like the context of our village microbrewery could be this thing that it could be brewed at a number one at an affordable cost. Tommy's is more premium than affordable. Right?
And that's why I think.
Right. And number two, you're gonna do something that's gonna fit into your culture. So for example, if let me say I throw out one in Aranguez, right? Thing you have a brewery when it are cricketing in the small field, thing we out there with a thing couple keg thing and we
Pop-ups kind of thing.
Yeah, we serving pints and we about the community and we end up weaving into the culture, that kind of scene, and it changes the whole consumer perspective on or perception of your brand. Think about that Trinidad and Tobago, with every village, every area have their own microbreweries, right?
That's the exact opposite of what Caribou want.
But I still don't think we have enough people to support that.
If we have enough people to support Carib, we have enough people to support that.
But we have enough people to support one Carib, but if we had 100 Caribs.
Well, that is it.
You're not 100. You're not trying to have 100 Carib. You're trying to have 100 microbrewery.
Yeah.
So in order for 100 microbreweries to make sense, we had the 100 microbreweries had to replace Carib.
No, Carib just had a not. Well, I mean, Carib just had a not own the whole market share. And
again, for the 100 microbreweries to be able to make Carib had to go because
Carib, it don't have to go. You know. It just had to give up market share. It just had to not monopolize. It just had to not monopolize. That's what it had to do. Not monopolize.
For Carib to do that, it means Carib as it is now do exist because Carib.
No, it exists. It just don't exist as it exists now.
Exactly, and that's what I say. So Carib scale and thing don't lend to Carib doing that kind of stuff. But again, what Q was talking about in terms of cost and that kind of stuff, a microbrewery can be profitable for the owners if they had to compete with Carib.
Can't or can?
Cannot.
Cannot.
Because the scale.
That is not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, I don't understand from even getting raw materials. It's not like as a microbrewery you're going to be growing your barley and the thing in your backyard, you know.
Right.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I hear you.
right. So that is
I
what
hear
gonna
you.
kill you.
I hear you.
That was what gonna kill you. You understand? But
So just
But
off the top, you had to be charging more than Carib.
but it's difficult for me to say so without the real data, right? Because it have a way to package it in. I mean, if I consider in business, thing like cash flows and all them kind of thing, business, right? All them kind of thing will come into play with thing and the kind of supply.
Why these people
Ronaldo,
opting where my little
Ronaldo is a 1% on the
Yeah,
loop. You understand? Shares
yeah,
in KFC, shares in Carib. Yeah,
I
Ronaldo is a
just respect
1%.
business people and what they've achieved, Jed. I really do give it to them.
and we ought to. But yeah, if you see again, I and you know my thing is solutions via marketing and communication. So I see in where it might be you might be able to sell a beer that not necessarily low budget. It might be premium, but it might be low budget, might be somewhere bumping in between there, that kind of thing, that regular price, I'm gonna call it that, right? And by volume, you're gonna be able to what go be tricky is you wouldn't have the proper projections before you actually start.
Okay, so you speak a good word there, which is volume. Because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that's what Carib is bank on.
Mhm.
Carib could sell a beer at what $7 or $8 wholesale because they're selling volume. Beer
Volume.
selling like hot hops. Beer selling. When you have a microbrewery and you can't sell in a quantity, the only way to make it viable is to increase the price. So your
Yeah,
profit margins are to be greater.
but now look,
Mm,
consider the scale, right?
mm,
For Carib to do that, right?
mm.
For Carib to produce what they're producing, they have to have the resources that they have. And the resources that they have require them to be turning over a certain amount, right? With a microbrewery, you had to reinvent all them things and change all them variables.
I
So
hear what you're saying, right, Q? But at the end of the day, you as the owner of the microbrewery still had to have a house, had to have a car, had to pay for your thing and this and that and the other. And
but
you ain't doing this out just for the love of it.
of course you're looking to be profitable. But
Right.
what I'm saying is being profitable, right? In the context, don't necessarily mean you're making the amount of money that Carib making, for example. You could
No,
be
you don't need to make that. You don't need to make that.
you own a microbrewery, right? You and let me say three of your brethren working in the microbrewery, right? And all you're making I'm gonna say this might be slightly controversial, but all you're making the equivalent of two Carib executive salary.
To Carib executive salary.
Salary, right? All
Mm,
you, all you carried home that, right?
mm.
Full stop. Simply because your overheads less than, like way less than going out and renting something.
That's not how it does work. I saying that simply because there was as Ray listened to my BBC, right? So there was a show on BBC a couple months ago, and they interviewed a bunch of people, one from Brazil, one from the States, and another one from I can't remember where, who owned and operated. I think the third one was from the UK somewhere. Owned and operated microbreweries, and they were speaking to the challenges of operating in their various environments.
Right.
And bottom line is, they couldn't compete because even from the perspective of, well, we had cost of raw materials, we had cost of the product.
Mhm.
We also had market penetration and marketing, which is something that you know very well.
Mhm.
But getting and convincing, so you're talking about the village. You see, convincing our village to I only drinking Q and I'm not drinking Stag no more is a huge undertaking.
It
Is
is.
it? Is it?
It is. It
I
is.
will say it is a huge undertaking, but it have a way to do it. It have a
Us,
chance to do it.
I don't think that's a huge undertaking.
No, you don't understand how
Yeah, it's huge to many.
loyal people is to the beer.
All they had a well.
But
Go ahead,
Dari,
sorry. Yeah.
Dari go say that, and you go say that because of your experience in Goodfellas. Goodfellas go influence how you thinking because that
Mm.
we had our brand, right? That even on a small scale, without all they didn't do no real marketing for that,
Nope.
and it had a certain clientele in the
Mm.
village, in the area that ascribed it, that used to come through religiously for it.
Most people used to not go Mario's
Yeah.
and
Understand?
not go and
Right,
not
Davi,
think. Yeah.
but if you're really running numbers, you wasn't buying a house and building a house on that. You wasn't taking care of your family on that.
How you know that?
But telling you tell me what you could talk about what you was making. Goodfellas wasn't
But
paying.
Ronaldo, I mean, it's not fair comparison. I didn't start that as a youth man. You understand? And
Doing
it
that
wasn't.
thing. You're doing that
Yeah,
thing.
I didn't grow it into a business.
And
Hold on.
again,
Before,
so
Yeah.
but before you go on, we make
Mm.
sure that we dealing apples with apples. What we're talking about is not the whole business, but we're talking about the penetration.
Yeah, right. So this is what Quincy's saying. Even for me, as a small business, you understand, that did not market, I didn't have no advertising or nothing other than word of mouth people that say, hey, it has some fellas in the drive making pizza.
Mm.
Just with that alone, people had stopped buying Mario's pizza and thing and was buying pizza by we.
agreed. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying
Yeah.
to you, the quantum of pizza you're selling and the profit margin on the pizza you're selling was never going to be enough at Goodfellas at that scale to provide you with a lifestyle that you would like to have.
How you know that?
You can't say that.
How you know that?
It have a show.
I'll tell you why I know that. I'll tell you why I know that. Because I have enough people who have companies that sell food. I'm not going to call nobody name, but who have branches. Not a branch, but branches.
Mm-hmm.
And those people who selling now,
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about pre-COVID times where the market good and on a Friday you're making good money. More they're selling more of their food product than Goodfellas would selling pizzas. Still aren't able to leave or quit their jobs and depend solely on the income from those businesses.
Well, two things. Well, there are two things. One, they're not selling in a community. They're selling outside the community.
And what they
right? So they're not true. So understand what Quincy's saying about microbrewery being a community-based thing. It had to be somebody who from the community recognized as a community member, so that the actual experience of patronizing the business is a community-based thing. It's like community activism there.
Yeah, that built into your scene.
Again, what I am is whether or not that community could support. I see the comment. Yeah, Alex, was capitalist. It's in my heart, I can't deny it. I can't deny it.
Yeah.
It's whether or not that community will support that. And I'm not saying it's impossible.
It's very
difficult. Because
it's difficult, but it's
Asa Belly House.
Mm-hmm.
Asa Belly House on a shop in the community. And the community thing that. But for him to do that, right? We know he squatted.
Mm-hmm.
Was he paid the price for the thing.
Yeah, he passed, he not squatting no more.
Yeah, right. I think no.
And are you right?
But what the man had to go through to get to that point, I know that everybody could be willing to go through that.
Not everybody.
The race is not for the swiftest.
Yeah. Of course, I agree with you. But if you had the endurance, I don't have the endurance. If you had the endurance, for sure.
It in all that, It in all that, is the intent and the strategy. Because I could tell you, like I have an experience to it that, and 4-on-1 was it, right? With 4-on-1 and I didn't even consider doing it that way, but because of what music is in Trinidad, where the music does come from, the engine room of the music, right? Because of the people that looking at certain things as aspirational in the industry and all that. When we drop 4-on-1, Dread, the main power, and this will impact on plenty of how I just think now big time because I see it live, right? The main power behind 4-on-1 was really the Villager, was really Mover, Lavantil, the Nelson, that POS thing. That is what drive that. And I could tell you that the time that I saw that big time is when we were shooting
Bounty Killer.
No. merciless.
Merciless.
Merciless. We shoot merciless on the Nelson, right? And I realized, Jed, we here doing what real people can do, which was without police or nothing, them kind of thing. Went down and have a photo shoot on the Nelson. You understand? And things shut down. Things shut down, right? Merciless went and buy all the bar by the corner there and say thing, let the youths drink and this and that and whatever. Jed, when we come down there, I tell you that I come down there and I concerned because Bertrand the Pizza coming down with all the equipment and thing. I feel, but let me go. You know, thing. Jed,
The thing
people
is, it's
and line up and ask for shots with thing, and when all it done, come up here and we do this and thing and whatever. And you harness the power of the community, right? And that was the pinnacle of it. To date, it are people about the place thing. When all they drop in our next magazine, thing I have all the issues. Thing that like built-in viewership. And that is simply because people are able to see the self and people like the self doing things of a certain kind of quality, doing things of a certain appeal, and they was on it and they embrace it. If you do a beer, a craft beer with that kind of energy, there's a Mova beer or there's a Ranguez beer or there's a Shoguna's beer, and this body all this embody everything that we think and what we find and what we like and thing and it use flavors and local thing and this and that. Dre, the buying for that go be ridiculous, eh?
I wanna agree.
hold on.
Hold on. But I wanna give Dawi the thing, but I just wanna come back to one thing, which is at what point does the community then turn around and say why he having and he able to do these things and I don't have? But go ahead now.
Right. So it have examples of what we're talking about happening right now. Bakeries, right? Bakeries is a community-based thing.
True.
It have bakeries that serving communities. It have monopolies or people who are trying to monopolize the bread trade in Trinidad that have actual business strategies to shut down community bakeries.
Boom bang, my company.
So if that was not a thing, you understand that you could build commerce based on a community, based on community activism, then they would have never even bothered to do it. So for beer to work, it wouldn't just be setting up the microbrewery. It would be that you had to start a supply to bars in the area. And bars in the area had to start to push your beer and not take beer from Carib.
Exactly. And that
is not something hard to do.
I want to interject and say it's not even I agree to a point, but it's not even like that, right? In that you have the opportunity to recreate how a bar in the area could interact with you, right? So it's more than just when you say take beers from you instead of take beers from Carib, right? It kind of put you in the realm where
you're trying to be Carib,
bottle for bottle now.
Yeah.
You have to bring an experience to the bar that it can't do.
Right. So it also have other things. So for example, your microbrewery could be tied to doubles. You understand? You could set up a doubles man outside your microbrewery, and it's because it's beer and doubles. You understand?
That become a cultural thing.
Or it have a tanty selling breastbone. It's breastbone and microbrewery in the community. You understand? Them kind of thing.
And here's a microbrewery. So maybe
imagine if Bayer had a microbrewery.
And
that would have fucking shut down Santa Cruz.
I don't come into and say this straight.
Yeah.
I really feel we have drifted so far away from support at a community level like that.
I
don't think we could go back to that horse because even like a Bayer horse, I don't think there's me. I think if KFC open a branch in Santa Cruz, Bayer Dogs dead.
Wait, I
Nah,
don't want to believe that was now. I
I know
can't
you
doubt
don't
it. Eh?
believe it,
I
but
can't doubt. I can't say 100% it
No,
would not
you
happen.
I
see,
don't want to believe it, but I'm telling you.
you see, watch this, right? Watch this.
Mm.
That is not how it does work, and that is the thing. We might think so on the on the outskirts, but that is not how it does work in reality. Buyer is a specific experience, right? That people know, that people go deal with, right? KFC is also a specific experience, and actually it tie into what I was going to say. When you're reimagining something, you have to reimagine the entire thing, which means we don't if you're talking microbrewery, it is not wise, as a matter of fact. I will go as far as to say it is not wise to think about it as something that's going to replace anything that's on the market. It's good to think about it as creating your own space. Here's the difference. I'm not concerned with taking anything away from Caribbean. You know what? When you go a concert in the savannah, when you go by the bar down the road, call your heading in tongue or wherever, you know what? Buy a carib, buy a stag, buy whatever you want, and go and do your thing. That is fine. I not competing for that. I competing for something completely different. Let me own, and this is why I will give any brand if I consulting with. Let me own a very specific mind space in the consumer, a mind space that not yet occupied. Maybe I just being real while and off the top here. Maybe my beer is the beer that I just drink in the morning because it had no beers consumed or not much beers consumed in the morning. Maybe I create that within my experience. I know that real out I whack and while and thing and is an uphill battle. But I
Now,
say
now we
maybe,
keep that comment for a second.
maybe my beer is the beer if we come to a community level and something that make more sense as I process it a little longer, slightly couple seconds longer. Maybe my beer is just the beer that you just drink when you go to the cricket in the savannah. You drink my beer. Every other time is a Carib man, is a stag man, is a Guinness man, is a whatever. But when it comes to cricket in the savannah, that particular experience, you just drink this beer for whatever reason, whether it's more cost effective, whether it's deliver a better flavor, whether the the paraphernalia thing, whether it's pay and when they come inside it onto the ticket price, whatever, right? But we had to own a unique mind space for the product. So then we're not even thinking about it as competing against Carib. And Carib could continue selling whatever they're selling to whoever they're selling it to. But what we doing is creating a unique experience for we seen. You understand? That I think from that perspective, and that is why in my head I thinking a microbrewery culture in Trinidad could really sell off if we are beer drinking culture,
Well,
right?
again, I think we have it with Tommy's, but you don't agree. I think we have it with Tommy's, and we'll see how that goes. Nicole, I don't like that comment about Trump. I don't associate me with that man. Oh gosh. Captain KFC, I go take that one, boy Valles. I go take the Captain KFC. With respect to the roti monopoly, let me put in my 2 cents on that. I think roti is something that one, it really comes down to who making the rotis, right? Like whoever in that kitchen, real important. It's not something like KFC or fried chicken or whatever, where you can kind of work a process and you have a recipe and that kind of stuff. Rotis are different kind of level of work, doubles and them kind of thing. It really depends on who in the kitchen at that point. It's not something that you could train people to do as readily or as easily as fried chicken because machines or timing or thing can't replicate the process. So because of that, you wouldn't get a franchise a roti that kind of could maintain a standard across all the shops as KFC has done. So I think that is one of the reasons why we don't have a roti monopoly or a roti chain that kind of stands out.
I'm a contribute to that and I agree with you 100%.
We have something close to a roti chain though.
Where's
What's
that?
that?
Roti factory.
Nah, roti factory. Nah.
Yeah.
The closest thing we have to roti and it is not this roti shop. God, that is advertised. The only roti shop that is
Hosein's.
Hosein's. That's the only thing that kind of
Right, so I talking about Hosein's
is
by the big tree.
Yeah.
Big
Hosein's is
Yeah.
roti factory.
And even if you look at that, right? If you go
Yes.
to the various signs, it's different to us.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
is I hear what you're saying, Dari, but that is not the same level of what Ronaldo talking about. When you're talking about franchise like KFC and McDonald's and them kind of places, I wouldn't even put like Mario's and thing in the realm of this type of franchise are we talking about. Because even in Mario's, it is get things varying from restaurant to restaurant drastically enough to say it's not on that level yet, right?
Mhm.
Understand that the concept of franchising is making something that Jed, you could hire 6 bachak. You understand?
Hosein's. What
And
is
them,
on?
and them could make them could make this thing, right? Like
So you're saying is that you can't break down roti to a formula?
no, I say nobody break it down yet. That is why
Yeah, yet, but it could be done.
Shai, how is that one? Shai's pull back. He wrote the place.
it could more than, but it could take somebody coming up with how to make
Angie's
a
Shines.
foolproof. Watch me. You
Lovely
understand?
house.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you understand the level of skill and thought that had to go into this. You had to make foolproof curry,
Yes.
al curry, and bus up shot.
You
From
see, what you're talking about is making a quality product. You understand? And horse.
Consistent product. Consistent
You can
product.
make a consistent roti, horse. You can make a consistent roti. It's just not gonna be a great roti. And of course,
Hot shop do it. Hot shop let's do it.
and what,
so it's like this. If you want that, you have to be able to sacrifice on the taste. Because then, as good as KFC does taste, KFC will never taste as good as a home style chicken.
of
I don't
course,
agree with that. Us. I don't agree with that.
it's
Because
not-
KFC blowing away most home style chickeners.
I on
You
your
gotta
bandwagon.
eat a good
We
home
are on
style.
your bandwagon. I could any day on my rules there I could fry a better chicken than KFC.
Oh,
Any
it have it have no mass
Yo.
produced food.
and watch me, I could
None.
say that. I could say that with confidence and put that out there. And
You can't do that, boy. You can't do that.
and then
Prestige to the world, boy.
I will put it to you. I will fry a chicken, and the only reason you wouldn't tell me, Dan, this is better than I will eat this over KFC is because you don't want to tell me.
Just
I
Friday.
tell you.
I come
And-
by
and
you
this-
tomorrow. I come
and
by you
this-
tomorrow. I come by you tomorrow.
Well, no seed.
I'll ring the Guinness. You Friday chicken.
Nicole, delete that from the internet. Delete that from the internet. Nicole, delete
Had to
that.
come. It had to come, Nicole. It had to come.
I rebuke that statement.
Don't say that.
What?
I rebuke that.
My comment is even if you want to compromise on things and say, let me get a mass produce roti franchise kind of scene, right? A roti franchise, and they're not even getting a variety, they're getting toasty alone. You're getting toasty,
Yeah.
chicken, potato, like the most basic of rotis.
Shepherd's chicken and Shepherd's.
That is still a difficult task, I think.
Or Shepherd's doing it us.
Yeah, but you gotta make it if you
Also,
do
how much branches Sheffield have to?
but I talking about in this market, in this market, to do that mass produce for people to eat it, it had to taste at least a particular way. And I ain't talking about quality, I'm talking about it had to taste a particular way and it had to be
Us.
consistent.
People buying hot shoppers.
Yeah, cause I buy hot shop yesterday, Jed.
But
I regret it.
People buying hot shop. If people buy hot shop, you could make a substandard mass produced roti and sell it to us.
Cause
For real money too.
We'll put it this way. Plain talk bad manners, right? Plain talk bad manners.
Yeah.
Hot shop open south. Hot shop south, Brad. No, I
Nah,
don't.
it go fail.
If hot shop open south,
No.
go
If
sell.
hot shop open in the right place in South, they go sell.
yeah.
We'll be right
Wrong
there.
one,
So,
Wrong, yeah.
If it open High Street, it will sell. If it open near a police station, it will sell. If it open in a place where it have foot traffic and people working and thing, and the churning out roti fast, and you not to wait long for roti and thing, and they can handle multiple lines and thing, multiple lines.
So hot touch up
horse,
50%.
horse,
Larry.
four
Larry.
casher horse, four casher,
The KFC
four
and
casher.
roti.
Larry, you know what?
Horse, Quincy, I'm gonna grill. Horse, I'm gonna grill upset, you know. I'm gonna grill upset, you know. Here it is. Four casher, and depending on where you're going, the telling you, whole lot roti coming out just now. And it's trees of roti coming out. Trees of pre-wrap. You understand? It covered pre-wrap. You understand? They ain't even wrapping it in front of you. It's not coming out chicken, beef, thing. It's not coming out wrapped now.
Larry, you know what? I had to say. When by the time I say next time police station, I see where you're coming out, right? I'm focused, right? I like, you know what? Yeah, boy, business wise, that should go big.
Go big. Listen, I rebuke it. I rebuke it. All that's holy, but
Yeah, that should go big. That should
they
go
go
big.
big boss.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I see many I think prosper because you could get it quick.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I see that was quick and real convenient, and it actually wasn't a bad quality that didn't make. And I can't even say it didn't make. I just don't know why it stopped. You see, Fresh Express, Jed.
Yeah, but Fresh Express used to get too soggy, I think. But Fresh Express was real good, boy.
I find that was good.
Express was real good.
Yes.
Yes, Jed.
Fresh Express was them sandwiches I used to buy all over.
Yeah, little kiosk thing. Yeah.
Who I don't know?
That was Bermudez.
That's Bermudez.
Right, which is Kiss.
Well, yeah. Laurie had a link. Laurie Cooper from Quigo. She had the link. Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. It had some weird flavor. The wraps had a weird flavor, but I mean, it totally consumable. I didn't mind the wraps, but it wasn't my favorite things. But I was Darius. It had a tuna on chibata. That used to sound up real good. I must say, like when they stop it, I miss it. I was like,
I miss Fresh Express. I pour some beer for the dead homies.
Yeah.
I was like, boy, Fresh Express, boy.
Fresh Express was hard, and the salad was good.
Yeah.
All I want to do is bring to your attention that it is now 12 minutes past 10, and you all agreed to stop at 10 o'clock.
Right.
And this is typically how the after party is.
Parties go.
This is my contribution.
But the
I hear with
conversation
Ronaldo. You said he would.
yeah,
Nice.
the conversation was nice. I enjoyed the conversation. I learned some things. I got to share. It was very fulfilling for me.
Quincy real cheating on the scene. Yeah, but I go like that roti thing gonna give me nightmares first. I'm gonna pop into my head and I'm gonna get anxiety and thing.
Well, the kiss.
Yeah, kiss roti.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah, man.
Janelle talking about KFC. Janelle don't understand how good Prestige. Wait, City Gill in the house? Wait, I gotta go. Because it's gonna go till midnight.
Nah. She late.
Yeah. KFC and Prestige figure out this food business in Trinidad. They figure this shit out, you know. Like they're really.
Well, I mean, I think
KFC figure it out.
It's KFC figure it out. I mean,
KFC figure it out, but Prestige implemented in Trinidad in a very, I want to say, a unique way. Because even if you look at Subway originally wasn't owned by Prestige. They had multiple different franchise holders, and Prestige come and really take the thing. And now, if you look at Subway, right? Subway is one of the leading fast food chains in Trinidad. That's because Prestige know what they're doing.
I would say that, yeah. I would say that.
Is it know what they're doing, or
I
is
would
it
say
have the,
Prestige know what they're doing.
or is it having the initial canvas in terms of the
No
the
Prestige.
Now,
Prestige
so
no one
understand that it had
mm,
Subway and it had that other thing always keep bringing up that was competing with
Quiznos.
Subway. And by all accounts, Quiznos had a better product than Subway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Subway prevailed, and
Yeah,
Quiznos.
because in Trinidad distribution is king.
And again, you have to understand, this is what I'm saying. Prestige know how to market, they know how to do things in the back end that is made it
But
profit.
again, is that knowing how to market or is that flooding? If you flood a market with something
No,
and
listen,
happy,
Whatever it is you have to do in terms of have capital and whatever, the fact of the
what
matter is
Prestige,
Prestige can do it.
what
but
Prestige,
right, so that's why I was saying, is it really like that savvy or
nah,
just
listen,
having the bank? Nah.
all right, savvy, yes, actually, yes, I would say savvy, right? And,
Mm.
but it's not savvy from the perspective of innovation and vision and all them kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Not since 1999. Not since 1999. I wish they would still pay me, but not since 1999.
Skill comes in because as a franchise holder, you still need to have a certain amount of skill in terms of what you're doing and how you're rolling out your product, right?
Because franchises real hard to run,
Yeah,
real hard to run.
I've seen people that buy into things and there's in a creative realm that buy into things and didn't understand how the thing working. I see that already. So it's very possible that you could buy a perfectly good franchise and not make anything of it in a zone.
Right.
Which, as a matter of fact, which the franchise holder, if they sick with it, will be able to make out before you even purchase it and say, nah, dog, you can't run this. You understand? I think the skill really is though KFC skill, right? KFC make a model that if you watch it starts globally, KFC make a model that is a good thing to
But
invest.
even if you look at KFC globally, right, you would realize that every location that KFC operates in, it tweaked. It tweaked. It's not the same in terms of what products they have, in terms of how they market, in terms of a bunch of things.
Which is the fault, and I
Mm,
use fault loosely as a word here,
mm,
of franchise owners, because the franchise owners make a franchise that not just scalable to be global and have global reach, but
mm.
adaptable for
Adaptable.
market.
Yeah.
And that is a big thing because KFC, Japan and China and them places vastly different to KFC Trinidad, but
Mhm.
it working and it performing across there pretty much the same way.
But it depends on the franchise owner, the franchisee, the person who's selling it in this market to adapt and modify it and implement the plan, because KFC International could give you all the blueprint. You had to tweak it to your market and make sure it worked.
And
And
you might be shitty and can't tweak it to your market.
exactly, and again, give Jackie Jacket Prestige, work that shit.
I will
Prestige,
do that. I will
work
say
that shit,
I will
horse.
say so. I'm not
Because
gonna.
I mean, we have Royal Castle, and we have a people who look at Royal Castle as we own, and Royal Castle try to bank on that with even their marketing, and still didn't make or can't make against KFC.
KFC still yeah. And now I saying what I'm saying, and I don't want to take away anything from Prestige because yes, I agree that Prestige is like a model for me. If I was KFC, I'd be like, yeah, Prestige Holdings is a model franchise holder. They've been holding that shit since 19 how long? Yeah, understand? And holding it down. Yeah, like I work on that. I come in advertising and work on KFC with Prestige.
I just watch if we could look at Church's Chicken come here and all them people and them I can't remember thing them is Aboods or whoever who own Churches and Vida France and all them. They don't know how to run franchising the way Prestige know how to. And it's not like they don't have good products. It's just that from a business and a marketing perspective, Prestige, you had to get Jackie Jacket Horse. They know what they're doing.
Straight up. Yeah, Prestige know what they're doing. I will say that. But we kinda stray a little bit from the point.
Yeah, I can't even remember what we were talking about.
The success of a franchise is basically on the owners of the franchise to be able to make something that.
So
is this we end up here? We related. We still talking microbrewery.
this is
I think that was the genesis. Nicole raised a point about Pizza Hut and the fact that that is prestige and they're not winning. Okay, I would.
Jamila.
Yeah, I would say Pizza Hut is not performing the way it should be performing. I think that's partly because of the product and the fact that the product hasn't, like Pizza Hut hasn't changed their product for forever. It's still the same greasy, stink, nasty pizza that they've had since forever. And the only thing that they really did that was unique to the local market is the all you can eat that they had forever. I never even went, but they had the
I went.
Right. So you see that was a huge marketing tool. But beyond that, I mean, Pizza Hut was never really saying anything. I think in the early Mario's was cutting their ass, and in the late, I think things like Papa John's and Domino's cutting their ass.
Well, I think Pizza Hut, if you look at what the franchises that Prestige have, right? I think Pizza Hut targeted more towards a family experience.
Yeah, but
how they position Pizza Hut now.
And an in-house dining experience, in restaurant kind of thing, which is not how people consume pizzas.
Yeah, so Domino's and Little Caesars and things, they're not catering to that. They come
take up, which is why Papa John's is the best. Well, in my opinion, the best pizza. And again, we can talk about the quality of the pie, whatever. But Papa John's, they don't spend no kind of money on the space. They don't spend no money on the space. But
yeah, because pizza is not a sit down anything, at least that kind of pizza.
Well, it was for a while, which is why Pizza Hut invest in Roxy and we had whatever. And it had times when we used to do that. I have gone and I have celebrated birthdays, kids and whatever in a Pizza Hut. But that is not where it's at now, right? Pizza is not that. If you want that, you're really looking for
La Cantina.
Well, not even that. I wouldn't even say La Cantina because that's more a little bit boutique. But I would say Chuck E. Cheese. That's what Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, family thing. I thought it was
right, because at the end of the day, pizza in terms of food for the Israeli kids, it targets towards. So Chuck E. Cheese trying to eat Pizza Hut pie in that kind of sense. Yeah. But Pizza Hut
and actually, and Pizza Hut went for that for the kind of like dating demographic and thing too.
I think honestly, Pizza Hut was real spot on in the strategy for when they come out. When they come out was when that was real conducive to how we used to consume pizza.
Yeah,
but the market changed since that.
They didn't adapt. And the thing about it is Mario's give Jackie Jacket. Mario's is watch all of them as slow as they are. There's Mario's watch Pizza Hut and what Pizza Hut was doing and adapt to that shit.
Mario's was always doing that. Mario's was always a family thing.
Yeah, but Mario's wasn't doing what Pizza Hut was doing the way Pizza Hut was doing. For instance, if you look at Mario's St. Augustine, by the thing there, in that big building and all kind of Mario's.
That wasn't always so?
Well, I mean, it was so because I think in retaliation or to accommodate for what Pizza Hut was doing, Mario's same kind of, well, that's pizza thing. But Mario's traditionally was more of a get shit, go away. They didn't care about the interior. If you look at old Mario's when we was coming up, Mario's was broken down house. Mario's didn't care about who was coming out and what the experience in the store because it was
Yes, I shared that what happened was in them times, right? When we was coming up in them times, it was by default. So you get people, families coming and saying down and thing without much effort because they didn't have much other options to do. And pizza was a kind of reward, indulgence,
luxury.
family indulgence at the time.
You know what take the place of that?
What's that?
TGI and them kind of thing. So TGI and them kind of thing take the place of them kind of thing,
That is a strong point because you see what you saying there? Mario's was the TGI time. When you had to celebrate and thing and wherever you go and get pizza and thing and then sit down there.
It was never a nice experience though.
It was nice.
In store house, Mario's never had a clean bathroom. Was never.
Listen,
But also our last day of school, last day of school,
Yeah.
you and your
Yeah,
friends got
she
married.
going Mario, they had an old CRT and a real nasty broken bathroom.
watch me. Hear what you talking about,
But you
right?
had fun though.
I agree. Yes, and that is nice thing now.
Yeah.
It wasn't aesthetically and all them kind of thing. It wasn't there, but
Mm.
Mario's associated with some great times though. And
Yeah.
the experience itself,
Yeah.
you used to carve your experience to that.
Yeah.
So Mario's was essentially the TGI.
Yeah, Mario's was the TGI, and then Pizza Hut became it because you want to go and do something, celebrate a family birthday, wherever.
Mhm.
Pizza Hut, you
And I
understand?
Pizza Hut end up coming in with a strategy based on the time, right?
Mhm.
Pizza Hut realized what the opportunity was. Well, all right, families coming and dine and thing. But look at the conditions they're dining in. All right, let me set up these spaces to
Yeah,
accommodate
nice and thing.
that are doing better. Boom, fall in.
But you know what? Then they really had to get prestigious, because then they realized Chinese getting money, Chinese have money. Son, they can
Yeah.
do it TGI.
Be
Oh,
that
Young people have disposable income and
Yeah.
want to lime and drink and eat thing.
Oh,
TGI.
and as rituals come up and they realize, well, okay, we have
Coffee
a coffee.
culture.
Starbucks is on the sale. But
Yeah.
prestige is dread.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
when I
yeah,
look
yeah,
at
yeah, yeah,
when I look at these things, I look at business source, and them men know business.
Yeah. And watch this. With the TGI, what I realize is they take a model that I figure would have been very risky when they was looking at it. Because and it would have take vision to take that and bring it here. Right? Because to make a TGI work here, what you seeing outside as the representation is not that. Dan, I went to
Yes.
TGI in Florida.
Because TGI Floor is nothing horse. That is a waste place horse. But they make that a premium place, a premium destination in Trinidad.
Yeah, in Florida and wife beater and things sit down in a
Yeah, horse, TGI is rubbish. TGI is a diner. TGI is a thing. That's us. Okay, let me talk to all you plain horse. When Denny's came here, because remember I was there, right? When Denny's came here, literally Denny's priceless. I was there. It was mind-boggling to me because Denny's is compare or compete with TGI in the States, right? And when Denny's reached, it was like, okay, there's all prices were, but then when it compared to TGI, we were underpriced. And it literally took like, okay, well, we marking up this, and we changing the prices to this because that's what TGI build. TGI build a market where we would pay that kind of price in Trinidad to do that shit. Prestige do that shit.
Prestige do that. Prestige do that. Denny's.
Nobody else. Prestige do that. Jackie does. Look at Subway. Subway a decade ago, Subway 5 years ago is not what Subway is now.
Actually, and if you look at it, TGI is what create trotters, is what create
all of them things. Yeah.
All them
sports
things.
Bars, sports
all
bars,
the sports bars, yeah.
Sports bars, yeah, straight up.
Yeah. We had zero sports bar culture. Yeah.
I telling you straight up. When therefore when my cousin had come down here, right? And we say we're like TGI. I see the man expression and I see
Q.
Yeah,
Q.
But when he reached, the man that he was there, the man say, "This TGI."
Q. And something you said a little bit earlier struck me, which was you see the ability to envision and to invest your money and to risk your money is what I applaud about capitalism. Was the fact that I would take my loan from wherever, or my resources that I have, and invest into this thing and have this vision that I'm going to create this and people are going to come and spend and I'm going to make. You should be rewarded for that. And that's the challenge I have with capitalism was because I do think
you should be rewarded, but I mean, people who work in there should be rewarded too.
No, and I agree. Yeah. And in some cases they are. I mean, if we look at most of the companies who have made it big. I mean, if you came in Microsoft in the early days, you need to work again. You know, if you come in Google in the early days, you really don't need to work again. Is it now when it build? Because you're not taking no risk. You coming into an organization that we already proved this shit. We fix it. You coming in and you eating gravy off the sweater we backs. But when Jeff Bezos start this shit in the garage, right? And he had nothing and he take a risk, right? He should be rewarded. It just should have a cap for that shit to us. But capitalism is important. And even if you look at it in China, and all them people who, I mean, they need communist system, but they take any risk. They bend any rules. They're doing whatever. They're stealing proprietary information from wherever to be able to build those companies. They deserve the rewards for the risk that they take. Us, all it's 10:30.
Right.
Cool.
So closing arguments.
Capitalism is bad for the most part, and the world need to...
Unregulated capitalism is bad. Yes. Regulated capitalism, where the community that it operates in sees and approves and agrees that there should be some sort of a threshold where you don't need more than this, is good. I think capitalism rewards people who take risk and go above and beyond. And for me, that's what socialism doesn't do. Socialism speaks to we all are equal. Whatever, if I contribute 0 or I contribute 100, I still get the same thing as you, and that is what I can reconcile in my head.
All right. My closing thought is legalize marijuana.
I was going to say something stupid and political, so I'll leave that alone.
You're going to say great is the PNM.
No, listen, Marshall Malalasha or something. You hear the song with
Oh, listen, I sat to watch that, and I was like, you know, I know that the government and thing have contempt for people, right? But that was like,
but that Malalasha ganja plant, the plate.
The
That real? That is a real thing.
Yeah, he do that. Yeah.
Because men are out here, don't you?
PNM.
Yeah.
Endorse that.
Yeah.
I didn't see it on no PNM. I went and looked on PNM feeds and me and see it.
Oh, so that's the same way we went last weekend with by the way, KFC on pause for me for the rest of the year. If you see me, well, I'm buying KFC. I go eat KFC. Somebody buy KFC and give me
the emancipation.
Horse, that really rubbed me wrong, horse. That rubbed me wrong.
The emancipation, that was garbage.
Yo, that rubbed me wrong. For those who know, they had a leg bone.
Hold on, I have it. Let me see if I can put it
yeah,
on.
sure. They put it up there, That rubbed me wrong, horse. And you know, as a prestige man, you know, as a KFC man.
You know, it reached foreign, right?
Serious?
Yeah, people were tweeting it and thing.
They really, it was tone deaf, especially in 2020. What going on right now? I think that was just wrong what they do. But yeah, so again, KFC a little break. I had the best thing of my life yesterday though. Rab Screen buy some zinger and she blessed me now. So I had the best thing of my life. I ain't gonna lie.
You're lucky. Oh, it reached all the route.
Yes, yeah. See that? Now, but I appreciate what you had posted us that you would have been the person saying, "Yo, we can't do that," and they would have been like you like, what do you mean?
Why? Oh, yeah. I mean, so I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I ain't gonna love you to talk them kind of talk, but I had to listen to people say some things in my let's just say yeah, been there. And I understand the thinking.
Hi, so 3 hours and 17 minutes in.
Yes, we did well.
We need to call it quits.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. Marina, 27th, Nicole, Firebun KFC Roti, Janelle, Who else here? Tim, blessings. Selena,
City
David,
Girl,
Peter, City
Late.
Gill, Sister Punch. Yeah.
Peter is always here every time.
Every day, Peter, I am your call calls for next week. Valdez. Yeah, man. Michelle,
Tim.
Larry. Thank you for logging on. Alex, big up yourself.
Yeah.
Alima, Gabby, Giselle. Yeah, man.
We can't think J blessed.
J
Yeah.
Bless, blessings, J Bless. Yeah. Next week, we should be doing the pepper next week, yes?
Yep.
Hopefully. Well, Q say come hello high water, we do it, so I guess we do it.
We're doing it. We had to do it. We can't promise the people a week and we think now we're doing it.
We could do it.
Somewhere we doing it.
We could do it.
All right, cool. So we're doing it next week. Cool.
All right, fellas. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All the peoples.
Yeah, man. Hey, Stevie.
Yeah, Stevie.
Yeah.
Look trouble. Stevie, why?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Later.
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 Yeah.